I should have looked at. Special meeting of the Board of Trustees of Socorro ISD will come to order. We've confirmed a quorum. The date is Monday, June 5th, and the time is 6:01. Let's go ahead and get started. Good evening, everybody, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in reciting the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, continuing with public comment. We do have two speakers signed up. Both of them signed up for the specific to agenda items. So I'll go ahead and read the notice right now. However, when we reach the agenda items, I'll call those speakers up, okay? The board encourages comments from members of the public. However, the primary purpose of this meeting is to conduct district business. Therefore, to ensure the efficient conduct of this meeting, all speakers must comply with the following rules. Address the board at all times. Only persons who have timely signed up to speak will be called to speak. Comments should pertain to district issues or business. In accordance with board policy, respect the rights of others, display civility and decorum, and refrain from using harmful and offensive content such as defamatory, obscene, or fighting words or gestures. Complaints will be referred to a grievance policy. Do not engage in conduct that disrupts or delays this meeting. Each speaker is legally responsible for the content and consequences of his or her own statements. In order to have enough time to complete all items on the agenda, each speaker will be given 5 minutes. And if a person speaks on multiple agenda items, not more than a total of 5 minutes. All speakers will be called to speak either during open forum or during the item which they have indicated they would like to speak to. The presiding officer will take all necessary measures to ensure that order and decorum is preserved during the meeting. We expect all persons to promptly comply with the presiding officer's directives. By law, the board cannot discuss or act on any item which is not posted on the agenda. Thank you for cooperation. So, as I indicated, we have two speakers, but they've signed up to specific agenda items. So, Mr. Hill, would you like to go? Go ahead, sir. Mr. Hill is speaking to item 4A.
How you doing, Mr. Kerman, Michael Nahara, the rest of the school board? Okay, the first thing I want to go over is I just seen what Canutillo just did. They went for a 5% raise for their district. They also went to a $22 an hour for their bus drivers. Isleta last year, after we did our $17 an hour and our 6% raise, went to $20 an hour for their bus drivers. And they doubled our bonus from, their bonus was $5,000, ours was $2,500. So I am gonna get more information from the other districts as it comes along onto what they're doing for this year. We will give that to you on the regular board meeting. But what I wanna do is bring up the 407. 407 is would bring up the beginning wages of a bus driver from 17 to 1876. The top wage would be $27. The midpoint would be in between that 15 years. This is what the mechanics get. This would solve two problems. This would make us more competitive, and it would help out for when mechanics pay, so we wouldn't have a difference in pay when they drive the bus. But it would also do us a lot and keep retention on our bus drivers too. Please look at that, and I hope we can find how much that would cost district, because I don't think it would be all that too absorbent. I also want to say, I believe, now I read the packet, it says that we can afford 2%. Now, last year, when we did our raise last year, our fund balance was $95 million. And we did a 6% when the fund balance was 95 million. Now, our fund balance right now, from what I just seen, is approximately $93 million. I think we could do better than a 2% raise when the fund balance is only a $2 million differential. And there's still more things to come. And I know the state is reopening, so there's still more hope for more money to come into the district. I believe this district can approve a 4% raise at least and a one-time $1,500 bonus at the beginning of the school year. And I would like to see, if you guys can ask, to see what that would cost the district and stuff when our fund balance is only a $2 million difference in what it was when we got a 6%. I am up here trying, everybody's going to be battling for their workers to stay where they're at, for what we are. Austin ISD just announced a 7% raise for their teachers. Canutillo did a 5%. I don't know why we can't at least do a 4%, and that's not asking too much. And I don't know why going to a 407 for bus drivers would not be asking too much. Now, I understand through what we all went through for the last 6 months on TASB that we only place it for 15 years. But still, it's something that needs to be done. Thank you very much. And we will have the information for every one of you board members on the board member day, showing you the difference with more districts to come as soon as we get that information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Okay, continuing then with item 4A, presentation of FY 23-24 preliminary budget. Ms. Bettis?
Good evening, President Nájera, members of the board, Dr. Carmen. My name is Vicki Bettis, Chief Financial Officer, and I'm going to present the proposed budget as of today, June 5th, 2023. Please keep in mind that this is just informational. We are not acting on this one. And compared to, I do want to have a little caveat, compared to last year at this time, we are discussing the proposed budget. Last year at this time, I believe they discussed the compensation plan as well. That one was in a previous meeting. So I will be more than happy to answer any questions regarding compensation, but for the sake of the tone, this is mostly budget. So you did get a revised copy of the presentation. I added a couple of more slides with some information on it. I wanted to make sure that the information that you were getting was as thorough as possible. So before we begin, I do want to touch on how this ties into our strategic plan. This is our priority 4.2, equity of funds, and the highlighted progress measure that we are working on is meeting with budget directors periodically according to budget calendar, and this is part of the budget calendar. So I want to make sure that that we are all aware of the intentionality of this meeting as well as our strategic plan. Tonight we will discuss legislative updates, the proposed 23-24 budgets, which include our general fund, child nutrition program, debt service, internal service funds, our federal entitlement amounts, along with our proposed tax rate. And for the record, when we talk about the tax rate is, the discussion is basically just a discussion. Our property values have not been, our certified property values are not out into July 25th. So this is just part of the discussion. This is preliminary and will be part of an August board meeting. So first of all, we'll go over our revenue estimates. For general fund, our total revenue estimates are $485,262,816, and that is attributed to increased property values, which we will talk about in the next few slides, increased interest paid as well as increased SHARs and Medicaid reimbursements. So we do have a little bit of extra revenue coming in compared to previous years. On page 5 of the booklet, we have our proposed budget by function. This is the level at which the board is asked to adopt the budget by. So for the total budget of 199 in the general fund, we have a total of $500,483,327. And if you notice on function 11, it should always be more than 50% of the entire budget because our goal is instructing students. So instruction should always be the biggest priority. On page 8, we have the comparison of our revenues to our expenses. We do have a difference, and I do want to point out that the fund balance that we will be using this year is $15,220,511 compared to the $19 million that we used last year. Another point that I do want to point out is under expenses in 6100, our payroll expenses should be between 75 and 85% of the entire local budget. This one is currently at 85%. I want to go over some of the budget drivers that we have for this current year. We do have a preliminary pay increase of 2% for teachers, nurses, librarians, counselors, and all job classes. We do have an additional school, East Lake Middle School, that's campus 050 in your books. We have a major increase in cost of utilities. That has been a huge thing to consider throughout the year. And then we do have preliminary funding for 4 elementary academies that we are preparing for. So as we prepared our budget, we are taking into consideration the amount of pupil per pupil for each campus per special population, but we also need to take into consideration these other 4 drivers as well. So some of the things that we have not taken into consideration, mostly because of legislative session, is the departmental funding request, and these are the additional fundings. Those you would know them as the request for additional funds. We also have not considered what TASB compensation study recommendation is going to be, and that's mostly because, one, we haven't had a chance to view that, but also because legislative session is going to dictate a lot of what we're going to do with the additional funds, if there are any additional funds. We also need to review options to reduce the budget deficit of $15 million. And as mentioned, the legislative session mandates are going to play a big driver in just how much of our revenues we can account for. I'll go over some of the special funds that we have. This one is also one of the funds that the board approves, and that is Fund 240, Child Nutrition Services. That's on page 15 of the book. Our revenues and our expenditures are balanced at $37,734,138. And that is $1 million more compared to the last year of $36.3 million. And in the Fund 599 debt service account, we are looking at an overage of revenues compared to our expenses, and our revenues are at $63,767,876. Expenses are at $56,269,693. That is also attributed to the fact that we have increased property values. At this point, this was based off of the same tax rate. We don't know what legislation is going to do with our tax rate. They may compress it to a maximum compressed rate of 15 additional cents that we have to lower on the local side. It may affect the INS side. The plan for the additional funds, though, is to do a defeasance to buy down our debt. So there is a plan. It's not for no reason. There is a plan to buy down some of the debt. That was one of the items that was presented in Senate. That one, thankfully, did not go through. So we'll be able to maintain our current tax rate without increasing anything to our taxpayers. So we'll go over the district tax rate. I just want to point out that maintenance and operation is $199. Interest and sinking is $599. So when we talk about what we're going to do, you're going to see two different rates. When we adopt the tax rate, you're going to see two different rates. So the maintenance and operations will be to sustain the operations of the school district. The interest and sinking, the $599, that is going to be used to pay any bond indebtedness that we have. And the tax rate for INS must always be at the very least what it costs for us to make those payments, not to exceed 50 cents per $100 valuation. So this is taken from the tax rate notice that is also in the bond book, in the budget book. These are two snippets. The top one I wanted you to see because the property value has significantly increased from 19 billion to 24.4 billion. That is a 26% increase. So what happens when that happens? I mean, like, that's great for the community because we start getting more taxes, but the state is going to take away some of those funds. If we are collecting too much, the state will equalize it by lowering the amount of funding that we get. So it will always be at a very equal rate. Keep in mind also that this is not the certified roll. This is before any appeals or anything to the appraisal district. So it may be lower. If I had to guess, I would think that it would probably be in about the 22 range, 23 range. You can expect to see it slightly lower. And then on the bottom, this is the average market value of our residents. So the numbers that we have here are considering the same tax rate. Like I said, this is a very preliminary meeting for taxes, so we are not considering increasing or decreasing, mostly because legislative session is going to tell us what they want to do anyway. So with the average market last year being $206,000 for our house, this year with a 26% increase of property values, we're looking at $232,950. At the exact same tax rate, we are going to see an increase of taxes of $293. Again, that is not increasing our tax rate, that is just property values. On your workbook, that would be on page 17 and 18 for your reference. So the budget and property tax rate adoption timeline, I just want to go over very quickly. We will post this in the El Paso Times as well as the West Texas Carrier. We will have a regular board meeting with a public hearing and discuss the proposed budget on late June, June 20, June 21st, depending on how y'all act today on one of the agenda items. And then we will adopt the tax rate most likely in August. The latest date that we can adopt a tax rate is September 30th. That's so that we give enough time for the appraisal district to send out the tax roll on October 1st. So the next funds are not one of the items that the board usually adopts. However, it is just good for transparency that you see exactly what we're working with. So we have the print shop at $656,247, revenues and expenditures balanced. Workers' compensation, the next page, is $2,743,112 for revenues and expenses. Our healthcare fund, $75,316,918, revenues and expenses. Fund 211, which is Title I, Part A, Improving Basic Programs. These are the entitlements from our government, our grants, and that was $13,239,696 for both revenues and expenditures. Fund 212 is our migrant fund. That is $55,173. And that is a significant decrease from the prior year of $105,000. Fund 224 is IDEA Part B formula. That is $6,973,948. Fund 225 is for the preschool. That is $86,967. Fund 255, Title II, $2,059,189. Fund 263, Title III, $1,264,038. Fund 289, $907,552. And lastly, the next steps, as discussed earlier, would be June 21st, public hearing with the budget adoption. I didn't include it on here, but I do anticipate that July, in the meeting for July, we will amend the budget, considering that legislative session has already closed any of their special sessions, or whatever special sessions they have adopted at that point, we can bring to the board. And the great thing about the budget is that it's a live document, so we can keep amending as we see those sessions going through. And then lastly, August 23rd is when we will adopt the tax rate. And I'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that you might have at this point.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Pettis, can we get numbers on how much the 2% raise will cost the district and how much a 4% raise will cost the district?
I do have those numbers here. I can give you that, and I can send it to you in your Friday packets as well.
Okay.
The 2% is costing $6,067,000, and that's for 2%. So each additional amount would be an additional $3 million per percent. And then one of the things that I have on my spreadsheet is, because if we're going to talk about 3% right now, we really do need to look at what that looks like in the long run. So I do have what that looks like, not just this year, but for example, 3% would be $9 million. In 5 years, that would equate to about $14.5 million. So compounded at 3% for each additional year, I think it's important that you at least see that it's not just right now, but what it looks like in the years to come as well. So I'll be more than happy to send that out to you. And you said you wanted to see 4%, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That would be $12 million for a 4% increase. And in 5 years, that would be approximately $20.2 million.
And normally in the past, we've approved compensation separate from the budget. So when are we looking to approve compensation?
That is scheduled for June as well.
June as well. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Now, one of the questions before it's even asked, I'm sorry. One of the questions I figured that I should have ready for y'all is the discussion over stipends. That one is not included in the compensation plan as of right now. That was out of ESSER, and that ESSER funds have already been spoken for. If that is something that y'all want to consider, just keep in mind that $1,000 per qualifying employee will cost $6.4 million.
At 6.4?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Pettis, was that for stipends or for a bonus?
However you want to name that, sir. It would be, right now, it is a stipend, and it is attached to ESSER 3.
Okay, thank you.
That would end up coming out of local funds, since that is already spent for.
Out of ESSER funds, will it be out of this ESSER Fund 3? Or we're still looking at ESSER Fund, because we have another year left over, correct, for ESSER funds?
Yes, those ESSER funds have already been earmarked, so if that is an amount that y'all want to consider as a stipend or an incentive, that would be coming out of general fund.
So the money for ESSER 3 has already been spoken for.
Correct. Yes, sir.
And as far as the legislation, I know didn't they decide on $50 or, so is that set in stone?
That, as of right now, yes. There may be some other caveats that are going to come up. There's some attachments to some vouchers that may come up. It may not, just like the last time it was just completely shot down. As of right now, there is a $50 increase on the basic allotment. And so when we talk about what that means as far as how much we should be allocating towards salaries, we do have a calculation of about $500,000 would need to go towards increases, and that could be increases including their benefits. And as of right now, we're at $6 million with the 2%. So that would already be met.
And out of the $50 per student on ADA, how much of that, what percentage is going to go to pay raise?
I'm sorry.
I know they were talking at 1.30% and then went to
Yes.
50%. Did that change it?
I believe it was at 30%, the calculation, but it's like 75% of it has to go to this, and then 30% of that other percentage goes towards the increases, and that's the $500,000 more or less at this point.
$500,000 increase with the $50 allotment per ADA?
Correct. So the $6 million that we currently have in salary increases, only $500,000 of it will be covered by state funding.
And what do we expect our ADA to increase next year, 1 or 2% possibly?
I don't believe it'll be 2%. I'm hoping we can have a good incentive plan to have that increase. As of right now, we are anticipating that it will be 98% of tax collections and 92% of attendance. So when we look at what are we budgeting for, I get the student enrollment and multiply that by 92%. So we also have to take those into account as, I mean, we're not going to get paid based off of enrollment as much as we would like to. I do believe that some of our allotments may, but not our entire funding.
And you're saying for the next board meeting, we're going to do the compensation?
That is correct. Selena, is there anything you want to add on that one, ma'am?
We'll be presenting that before the budget is adopted.
Do we have any more workshops planned before? I think I would like to have a workshop on the compensation presented before the board meeting, at least a week before, so we could look over and have another workshop on it to see, as far as the compensation, how much dollar amount we're looking at. Would that be possible, Mr. Nahara? That we could arrange a workshop?
Coordinated date.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Nahara. I know I had previously asked for fund balance, and thank you for providing that. How many days does that fund balance cover? How many days do we have?
That should cover at least 120. I believe that that is slightly under the 120 days.
What is required by policy?
We do not have that on a policy.
To stay in the A rating or whenever we're competitive for bonds or any other, what is usually required?
That is, I believe it's 60 days.
The other question I have is legislative session, as we know, it's still ongoing. So we have to approve the budget in June. Do we have anything in policy that allows us to come back and adjust any of our recommendations based on what the legislative session does come through and actually put into law?
The only policy that pertains to that is if we are changing an increase or decrease of any of the function levels, you can at any point amend that throughout the entire year. So that's, again, one of the most wonderful things about the budget is that it's very fluid. So as those are coming through, all of those sessions are done, we can evaluate what that means as far as an increase on our revenues and increase our expenditures as well.
So right now, the 2% recommendation is 100% very conservative.
Very conservative, yes. If, in my opinion, this is our way of sending a good faith message to our employees that we do plan on giving a raise. We are not going to wait for legislation to finish. We do plan on it. This is what we can do at this point, and we will reevaluate as the sessions are complete.
And then my last question, budget dust. I know that we approve a budget based on estimates. Historically, how have our estimates been towards the end of year actual budget as far as comparison? Are we close to, or are we very conservative? What does that look like traditionally?
In the past, I don't have historical information. For this current year, we do look like we are very close to where we should be as far as what our current budget looks like. I do anticipate that we will have an excess of revenues over our expenditures, so there will be some money that goes back into the fund balance. Our staff does evaluate the budget throughout the year, at least 2 or 3 times. They determine whether or not they're spending appropriately, if we're spending enough. We honestly don't like to spend it all at the end of the year. We want to make sure that we're spending on our students throughout the year. So as of right now, they've been very good about making sure that they're spending appropriately and according to the timeline. And it looks like we should be in very good, positive area there.
And that would be one recommendation that I have, based on the 120 days possible fund balance that we have, if we could have historic, maybe 2 to 3 years of how we're doing on projecting and approving our recommendation and what we actually end up at the end of the year. I think that'll give us a good idea if 2% is too conservative.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Bettis, looking at some of the special funds, like if we look at Fund 211, Title I, that's going down by 2.3. Fund 212 is going down by 50,000. Fund 224 decreasing by 3.7. English language acquisition down by 800,000. What do we attribute all these decreases to?
Do we have Dr. Starkey?
Or is that something that we can get additional information on?
I can get additional information. This is based on availability from the government, from our grants. One of the other attributions to that one is what our CEP forms are when they're being filled out. So when they talk about the community eligibility program for our child nutrition program, if they're not filling that out, it's going to affect our regular grant funding.
Okay.
So they have been making very big efforts on increasing that. But again, it's obviously not as much as we would like for it compared to last year.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Bettis, and we'll coordinate an additional special meeting regarding the salary compensation package
Yes, sir.
between now and the board meeting. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Continuing with new business, item 5A, consider approval of the 23-24 board meeting calendar and agenda cycle. Carmen.
Yes, sir. Mr. Nahara, Board of Trustees. We are recommending to the board that you adopt a meeting calendar. It's been developed using the third Wednesday of the month for our regular board meetings, with some exceptions. July of 23, we're proposing the fourth Wednesday of the month due to our summer break. And December 2023, we are proposing the second Wednesday of the month due to winter break.
Motion to approve?
Second.
A motion to approve made by Mr. Guerra, seconded by Ms. Nahara. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? And the item passes. All right, continuing on with new business, 5B, discussion and possible action to select a law firm to provide legal services through the RFQ process to include interviews and QA by the Board of Trustees. Mr. Carejo.
All right, before I start, I would like to go ahead and read something. This is off of the SISD website, Socorro ISD document 071909, date issued 11/21/2019, update number 114. Public criticism. A board may not prohibit public criticism of the board, including criticism of any act, omission, policy, procedure, program, or service. This does not apply to any public criticism that is otherwise prohibited by law. You ask, why do I say that? Last time I spoke, I was being told I couldn't say certain things. So I just want to go ahead and read that to everybody, okay? We just can't take things at face value. Here in God we trust, everything else we verify. So I want to go ahead and start with that. Mr. Nahara, is that okay with you? Perfect. All right, so today we're here to talk about possibly replacing, I don't think that was necessary, Mr. Nahara, but anyway, the kind of chuckle kind of under your breath. So I ask that you act professionally, if you wouldn't mind, sir. Just like I'm expected to act the same way, I ask you to do that respectfully. Thank you. So today we're here to see about doing RFQs for another attorney, okay? My concern, this right here, what is this? This is the Facilities Advisory Committee for the 2017 bond. Sammy, we're in 2023. Why are we talking about that? Why? We have 3 board members that were here back then. There's a lot of concern. I sit on the current facility advisory committee. I sit there and I look at all the numbers, and as you guys know, I'm a numbers guy. I love it. Let me give you a number right now, 59%. 59% of all the campuses need either new or repair their air conditioners. 59%, wow. Didn't we just fix them in 2018? Did we not? The answer is yes. This is all the stuff that I'm going through. Everything that should have been done in the 2018 bond is right here, okay? We're sitting there, well, it was the past, and I agree. We can't change the past, but we can't change the future. Sammy, what does that have to do with attorneys? We're asking to get rid of our current legal counsel, and I don't know, maybe because the current board, or let me just make that straight. The current majority, okay, not all board members, the current majority does not like the, or appreciate the services by the current council. Why? As we know, several times I've referred to them, and maybe you don't like what they've said. Legal counsel, what is their job? Their job is not to represent me. The legal counsel is here to make sure that the board does what's in the best interest of the district. Big fancy word for make sure you guys don't screw up. Make sure you guys don't put us in a position for liability. In other words, lawsuits. One of the things about elected officials is that if you guys, quote unquote, screw up, you guys don't pay anything. Why? Because it ends up passing it on to the taxpayer. So as a taxpayer myself, I'm coming here today and say, no, we should not be getting rid of our counsel. Why? Because it's been alleged that the previous legal counsel wants to come back. Now, going back to, okay, what happened in 2018? Air conditioners. Mr. Guerra's ears should be going up. As we all know, Mr. Guerra's company supplies parts for air conditioners. 59% of them don't work. And I love what Ms. Macias said. Well, can we get numbers from 3 years back? Let's take a look at them. Okay, one of the people at the Facility Advisory Committee said, well, we got to take a look at our vendors. And if these parts are going bad, then let's not use them. 59% of air conditioners need to be replaced or repaired. I agree. We need to take a look at that vendor. We need to take a look at why are these air conditioners have to be redone if they were done in 2018. For those who don't know, in 2018, the air conditioning were done in phases. They started off with elementary, middle school, and high school. So they were done 2018, 2019. What year are we in right now? 2023. If in your home you got new air conditioners and it went out in 4 or 5 years, will you guys be upset? Yes, that's the answer. Taxpayers are getting upset that we have a board member whose company provides parts for those air conditionings. The same board member who now can write checks. Is it legal? No. Is it unethical? Yes. And I am here to fight back. Why? Because there's a lot of things that we've come up with. Not just with the bond, but other things that are questionable. I did bring up that issue last time. I'm not comfortable with a board member who has a company who is a subcontractor to have access to writing checks. Where's the checks and balances there? I am also concerned about that board member having a legal counsel who's going to side with him every time. I yield the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cadejo. For clarification, it is not Mr. Guerra's company. Mr. Company is employed by a corporation. And then secondly, Mr. Guerra does not sign checks. We have a AP process that creates and issues all checks. Just points of clarification, that's it.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Cadejo. Time's
Nájera.
up.
Thank you, Mr. Nájera, for defending him. You took a little extra time, so I'm just saying thank you for defending Mr. Guerra. And I was wrong. He works for that company. He doesn't own it. Forgive me.
Okay, we'll continue then. Discussion and possible action to select a law firm. As a reminder, while the agenda item does say discussion and possible action to select a law firm, today our intent was to listen to the presentations, to be able to take the additional information that was given today, take it home, review it, digest it, and then come back to the board meeting, to our regular board meeting, and make a decision at that particular time. But that allows us sufficient time to not only listen to the presentations and consider that information, but also to go through all the information that we've received as well to this point, which Ms. Macias there has the stack, before her. So it is quite a bit of information, but to take all that information, consider it, and then come back to the next board meeting. Okay, so I believe we have a schedule.
Mr. Nahida,
Yes, sir.
before we move forward, I would like to bring something up here. It's in reference to the RFQ itself and why the proposition was brought forward in the first place. The argument was made because of the cost of services provided by Escamilla and Ponick. And during the time from that last meeting to now, I was doing my homework and reviewing the costs, and we never got to the board meeting where we discussed the costs, and the attorney's not even here today, to discuss his costs and his services to justify what was going on. In the process, while looking through the costs, drivers and everything that in comparisons to the previous attorney firm, it was brought to my attention just last week of an email that was sent by a board member for a response to TEA involving their 2020 investigation. The email was in such a way written by the board member to have that attorney's firm misrepresent the district with TEA. I don't know if all board members have received a copy of that email. I know Mr. President Carmen, or the Superintendent Carmen has it. I did receive a copy of it and I reviewed it. And I am concerned about the legality of this, and especially for that board member to push for an RFQ following that. I look at it, the legality of it, as we're pushing, is it an official oppression? Are we pushing it to the legal limits of what a person on the board has the capabilities of doing? And that needs to be addressed. I think all board members up here should have a copy of that TEA investigation, as well as the email to review it prior to moving forward, so we can understand why we are here. It was right after the email, the RFQ came up, because that email was not forwarded. The information was not forwarded to TEA in the manner that would have put the district in bad light. The attorney did his job, and because of that, this board member became upset and pushed for an RFQ. I believe all board members need to review that before moving forward with looking for another firm.
Castellano, I believe the motivation for the RFQ was that we're approaching $1 million in expenses with this attorney. And during the discussion, that was the motivation, and it was approved by the majority of the board. If anyone disagrees with that, but I know that that was certainly the motivation for me.
That was the excuse.
No, sir.
That was the excuse
That was
because
the reason, not an excuse. It was the reason.
the
When
motivation-
when the current attorney is billing us almost 4 times what the previous attorney was, certainly that's motivation. And I know that I have received comment after comment from the community who heard that the attorneys are approaching $1 million, and they think that's excessive as well. So that was the motivation for the RFP.
When the district started with the board, with the new attorney firm, there was a budget set for it, right, Ms. Pettis? And when we started encroaching on that budget to the limit, to the top, wasn't any red flag set off? With Mr. Reyna, you're in charge of finance. Wasn't any red flag set off saying, hey, this attorney firm is charging too much? Did we look into their costs? Are they charging us stuff illegally? What are these costs justified? Because, looking at the numbers, HR was like $188,000 by themselves alone. Are those charges justified? You can't ask somebody to provide a service and then complain about the costs. Somebody had to monitor the use of this attorney, and apparently it wasn't. We can even go back to other budgets. Do we ask for RFQs when other budgets are exceeded? Do we ask for RFQs when on the food costs because we exceeded all the catering? No, we just try to increase it, and then you found another way around the board to finance that. That
Mr.
was easy
Castellano.
to do. No, but you talked about the budget, but
Yes,
it's
I did,
not.
sir. And
Are they-
the item on the agenda
Yes.
is discussion and possible action to select a law firm. And we're supposed to, there are several people here.
Yes.
So the item to hear the presentations was approved at the last board meeting. and we are here to
And I'm
listen to
questioning
those
that
presentations.
logic right there. That, did you receive a copy of that email that was sent to the attorney? So you can make a better judgment of what's going on.
Mr. Castellano, there is no reason we cannot listen to the presentations. Now, deliberation of who we select, when we select, why we select, all that is done at the moment that we are going to select the attorney. But right now, our agenda item is to listen to the presentations.
And
And
I'm
so-
questioning why we're here. This is important. Did you receive a copy of that email that the board member sent to the attorney? No, Mr. Nájera.
I did not.
So you're not familiar with what's going on.
I'm familiar
I think
with
we
the
should,
fact
should,
that we
the board
almost-
should be
that we
familiar with
have
the totality of the circumstance here to
Castellano?
understand what's going on.
The driver here for me, and again, if anyone else disagrees, was that we are nearing $1 million in legal fees from the new attorney. And if we go back to the meeting about a year ago, my concern at that time with the selection of the attorney was also cost.
But the cost
But
driver
nobody listened
was
to me
not
back
the
then.
attorney. The cost driver wasn't the attorney, it was the
Absolutely,
district
because
itself.
there was an increase
Was there any
in the
services
hourly
provided
fee.
that was paid for that was not provided? Ms. Perez? Was any services paid for that was not provided by the attorney firm?
We're going to continue with the agenda item, and we're going to go again. This is to listen to the RFQs. There is not a discussion
Yeah, my
being made
question
here.
is the RFQ, why it was brought up in the first place, but go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
If it was approved by a majority of the board, then that is the
That
desire
was
of the
before
board,
all
and
the
it
information was
the
presented
action.
to us.
We're gonna make a decision.
We're not going to make a decision today,
It says right there, it's a possibility to make a decision, and that's the issue.
and that's why
So am I gonna
came-
get the opportunity to speak or not?
I'm trying to clarify that we are not
But
at this meeting
I'm
to
not
make a
done.
decision.
Okay, but it does involve the process of it, and that's what he's explaining. But obviously, nobody really wants to listen and see the motivating driver of why. But we asked, I know Mr. Castellano and myself specifically asked for that firm to bring up and show us why they're billing us the way they're billing us. But nobody here has chosen to want to listen to it. And that, to me, I question why nobody wants to listen. What is it on there that you all or somebody is trying to hide to not present it to the public?
Mr. Barrera, it's funny. The last time we had an RFQ, there were several of us who objected, me being one of them, and once the board passed, as a board, we are supposed to support the decision of the board. The decision was made to approve the RFQ, and the motion passed before this board, and we are here to listen to those presentations. Back then, I did not argue. I did not continue to stipulate that we should not listen to them. I did not make accusations about what the motivation was. It was very simple. We passed the motion for the RFQ and to listen to the presentations, and once the board decides that, then that means, as a board, we're supposed to respect that decision and move forward with it.
But nobody respected our decision when we requested it for the current attorney to propose
Yeah.
why the expenditures were made.
And all the information was not provided to us
The
when the
attorney
attorney was made. when
had
this
the
decision was made.
opportunity to provide that information, and can anyone force the attorney to provide it?
Well, yes, he's our attorney.
But the attorney didn't provide the information. I know we requested it, absolutely
Yes.
requested it.
And we haven't even reviewed it ourselves.
Well,
you
the
know?
attorney hasn't presented it, but notice
Yeah,
that they are absent from,
We did receive it.
Oh, okay.
In our Friday packet.
oh, well, there you go. But this is not the detail, this is
That's
not
not
the
the
level of
detailed one,
detail that
yes.
we asked for.
Yes.
That is correct, sir. I reviewed it, and it is not the level of detail that we requested at the when he was here last.
Not all the information was provided to us when the RFQ was proposed.
Still no reason for us not to listen to the presentations. With that, we're going to proceed with the first presentation. First up, Blanco, Ordóñez, Mata, and Wexler. There's 15 minutes. Welcome, Mr. Blanco. You have 15 minutes for a presentation, sir, and then 5 minutes for Q&A.
Okay. Thank you, Board President Nahara, Dr. Carmen, members of the board. I know all of you, with the exception of Ms. Gardea. Welcome. My name is Steve Blanco. We were the former legal counsel to the school district that Mr. Castellano mentioned a moment ago. I want to also introduce my partner, Rudy Mata, and Daniel Ordonez, they're here with me as well. We submitted, I believe all the law firms that are presenting here tonight submitted written responses to the request for qualifications through the online system. And we've done that. I understand you all have a hard copy of it because we were asked to provide 8 firm copies of that. In there, I'll leave it, I understand you're going to be reviewing it. I'll leave it to your review. We've gone through the entire online process, checked all the boxes, responded to all the questions, and we've included a qualification statement and a summary of our abilities and our knowledge and our practice areas within the response. Obviously, we're qualified. We've been handling the work for the school district for over 10 years. We are still legal counsel to Socorro Independent School District. We still have a couple of litigation matters in the employment setting that we're handling, that we are wrapping up. So we technically still represent the district. Like I said, we've done it for over 10 years. We're familiar with the vast majority of the processes and systems. I know Dr. Carmen has made a few changes, but I don't foresee any problem with us meeting new people and working with them. Getting to know key personnel is something that we're obviously capable of doing. We're experienced attorneys, and we've done this before. As I said, we've been general counsel to Socorro since 2013. Some of you that were on the board back then will be familiar with the way that that came about. The prior attorney had some conflicts that had come up regarding development and other issues, and as a result, he was asked to step aside. We were contacted, asked to perform the service on an interim basis. We did for a year, and then we went through an RFQ process. I don't think there's anything wrong with going through an RFQ process. At any time, with any vendor, you're asking for qualifications, you're asking for price, you're asking for skill, and you're reviewing their abilities to provide the service. I think it's appropriate to do so. After we've been here for a year, we went through an RFQ. We did it again another time, went through an RFQ. We don't see any problems continuing to work for the school district. We certainly have, and I'm not going to spend the time reading all of the slides, but you can go through them in there. We attend all the required trainings. Our lawyers are all properly licensed, and we're members of all the national and state organizations. We handle all the various forms of discipline proceedings, and we provide advice on regular school law issues, public entity client contract issues. We deal with day-to-day personnel matters. We don't just represent school districts. Our practice is diverse. Our public entity practice is only one portion of our law firm's practice. We have 11 attorneys, and we represent a variety of different clients, including very large national and regional clients. Why is that important? We're not just solely focused on school law. We see contract issues, we see business issues, we see employment issues, we see real estate issues, we see construction issues that aren't just in the public setting. That gives you experience and the ability to analyze things, I think, on a higher level. I can tell you that we've defended local government clients. I've been doing this for over 26 years personally. Rudy, sorry, a little bit longer. Daniel, not quite as long. So we've got a good mix of talent. We've got other young lawyers that I'll get to in a minute that also help. For the school district, here's a list of some of the things that we've been doing over the last 10 years handling for you. Everything from the very beginning of contracts all the way down to the bottom. We handled over the course of 10 years the opening of many schools, from acquisition of the property, preparation of the construction documents, making sure that the construction documents were complied with by the contractors, and going through the entire process. So from a bottom to top approach, we've handled everything that this school district has needed over 10 years. And we've done it, I think, and I don't want to get into specifics about it, but I think we've done it in a very cost-effective and efficient professional manner. Now, I don't know what your current lawyers are doing or why the bills have gotten so high, but I can tell you that in the 10 years that we have represented this school district, we have not, in an annualized year, billed over $300,000 in a single year. Generally speaking, in 2014, the total legal services invoice was $285,000. In 2015, it was $213,000. 2016, it was $185,000. 2017, it was $155,000. In 2018, it was $220,000. 2019, it was $192,000. 2020 was a remarkably low year, $126,000 in total bills. 2021 was $190,000, and 2022 was a total of $175,000. I don't see a way, having done this for 10 years, and this is not the only public entity that we represent, it's not the only school district that we serve as general counsel for, that legal services should generate the level of charges that this district is seeing. You can go ahead and ask, have your current lawyers explain the reason for that, and take their explanation for whatever it is that they tell you. I just don't see that happening, and it won't happen with us. I can tell you that. Why? Experience matters. Your ability to be responsive matters. Your ability to deal with personnel matters. Your ability to answer questions quickly, timely, and efficiently matters. I would venture to guess, if you asked the staff that we worked with here at the district, they would all be pleased with the work that we provided. I think we did a very good job being timely and efficient with the work that was asked of us to perform. I think we can do that again. So we won't just have one lawyer. It's not just me, and I think you all know that have been on the board. Occasionally you see other lawyers from our firm that will attend meetings or that you have to ask questions to. We have lawyers that are here, and we work, we live in El Paso, we're from here. I think with the exception of maybe Robert Estrada, who went to Cathedral. I chide him about that every now and then, but he went to Cathedral. The rest of us are public school grads. We grew up here, we live here. Some of us went to college here. Some of us went away to fancy colleges, like Rudy. But for the most part, we're here. We serve the community and we live in the community. These are some of the school district clients that we have. For Osleta, right now we handle personnel and litigation. We also do special projects when they call us and assign them to us. Canutillo, we're general counsel. San Elizario, we're general counsel. Tornillo, we're general counsel. For those entities, we handle everything. Whatever it is that they need from a day-to-day basis, the full gamut of public law and education law, we serve them. El Paso Independent School District, in the past, we've handled real estate matters. The RFQ asked for experience over the last 10 years in issues, and so I include that on there. Right now, we do not represent the El Paso School District, but we have in the past, and obviously for Socorro, and we previously served as your general counsel, and we currently serve as litigation counsel for you. Other government entities, as I said, we're not just limited to school districts in our government practice, but we handle the vast majority of the public entity litigation for the city of El Paso in the employment area. We represent the Lower Valley Water District as general counsel. El Paso Water Utilities, we handle litigation from them. They're an arm and a body of the city of El Paso, but they have a separate board. The County of El Paso, we handle litigation for them, and we are general counsel to the El Paso Housing Authority. County Housing Authority, I'm sorry. That's Mr. Mata. I'm not going to talk a lot about myself. Most of you all already know me. We are qualified. If you want to go through the documents that we presented to you, you'll see the list of things that we've been involved in, the accolades that we've received, the certifications that we hold. This is something that we do. We've built a very successful law firm here in El Paso over the course of the last 16 to 17 years together. Rudy Mata, Rene Ordonez, and I have worked together for over 20 years. We've done this, and we're proud of it. I'm not going to shy away from saying that we've done a good job, because we've done a good job. Rudy is here tonight. I made fun of him because he did go to MIT, but that is a good school. So he can take pride in that. I went to UTEP. Rene is not here. Rene had another engagement, but I think he's attended a couple of the meetings in the past for you. He's one of our senior lawyers. He's the most senior lawyer at our firm. He formerly served as general counsel for the El Paso International Airport. So he has a broad range of experience in handling public entity work as well. Elizabeth is Rudy's wife, the better half of Rudy. She is a shareholder and a partner in our firm. She handles business and intellectual property matters. She actually has done quite a bit of work on the intellectual property side for the school district. Y'all might not know this because it doesn't always bubble up to the board level, but from time to time, somebody at a store will be selling items that have your logos. They'll be using it for advertising purposes, different things, and when that comes up, Ms. Mata is the one that handles that. Additional lawyers that we have, Robert, mentioned him earlier, Diana Flores works with Rudy, and Daniel, he's here with us tonight as well. So in terms of the overall costs that we project for our services, these are our rates. Our standard rates for the type of work that we generally handle for Socorro range from a high end of $350 an hour to a lower end of $200 an hour. That's associate time. We have always billed, and it's not just for you, Socorro, our public entity school district clients at reduced rates. Some of the other public entity clients, we charge them a higher rate. They're different services. But for school districts, in recognition of the true public service that you all provide, it's a school. It's a school district. We're educating kids. We've always provided a reduced rate. And we've agreed and proposed that we will bill this entity for this work a rate that won't exceed $225 an hour. That is the top-end rate for shareholders, for myself. Associates would be billed at $175 per hour, and legal assistants at $100 an hour. Those rates, I cannot see fees in a calendar year being much higher than they were historically when we previously served this district. I think that is something that every public entity using taxpayer funds should be taken into account, as long as you're getting high-end, professional, top-of-the-line services. And I believe we did that. If somebody feels differently that we didn't, they're entitled to that opinion. But I think if you ask the administrators and the people that know us, they'll say differently. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blanco. So we now have 5 minutes for questions. Time is 7:02. So questions?
Yes, Mr. Blanco, right here it said that you guys have handled federal administrative cases. Have you ever done federal criminal?
No.
No?
I haven't. My partner, Rene Ordonez, has. He's handled white-collar criminal work.
There was one that was a former AUSA?
That's Rene.
Renee.
Yes.
How long was he a AUSA?
Oof. I'm going to age him. I'm going to say over 10 years. Over 10 years. He was actually nominated to be appointed as one of the federal judges. I want to say it was Cardone's spot, so 15 years ago? About 15 years ago, Kathy Cardone, she's a federal judge now. She and Renee were the finalists for that position. Obviously went to Ms. Cardone. But yes, he has experience in the federal area.
Okay. And I remember before you left, we had a conversation, and you told me, and this is what raises concern, that over time you became friends with board members.
Yeah.
And to me, that creates a conflict, because then can you do your job and can the board do the job without there being a conflict of interest?
I sure hope so. I'm professional in everything that I do. I have clients that I've represented for 27 years that are some of my closest friends. So yeah,
I just want you to
absolutely-
understand where I'm coming from.
Oh, I understand the question. I disagree fundamentally with the premise that a lawyer cannot become a friend to a client. And I want to make something clear.
And I didn't say you couldn't be a friend.
No, I say that, I agree. I want to make something clear. I don't represent any individual board member. I have told board members that before, because they've asked me to do things and asked me questions, and I've told them, look, I can't represent you. This is not something that I can handle for you. We represent this public entity. Our loyalty, our fiduciary obligation, our ethical boundaries are with this public entity, not an individual board member. So sure, I can tell you at Canutillo, at San Elizario, Tornillo, here, the city of El Paso, I have a lot of friends that are also members of clients that I work for.
No further questions?
Questions?
Yes. You said you were the attorney for the district for 10 years, right? Right now, we are facing the conclusion of a TEA investigation, which would have occurred while you were the attorney. And it's pretty significant. The details haven't been released yet. They're finishing up the report. But how do you fit in this? What do you have to say about that? I mean, this is significant.
I don't handle, I'm familiar with it without divulging client confidential information. All I can tell you is I don't handle the administrative operations at a school. That's not something that a lawyer does. We provide advice and answer questions that require legal skill and judgment. If asked a question, I will give my best professional advice. But in terms of a day-to-day operation at a school, admissions, counselors, what teachers do in a classroom, that's not something that lawyers handle.
Well, advice. So apparently with this current attorney, everybody's asking him for advice. So you're saying nobody asked you for advice. That's why
regularly.
your bill was so low?
No, I don't think that's what I said. Regularly, on a daily basis, when we were general counsel for Socorro, I probably would field half a dozen to a dozen calls a day from various people within the administration. And I will say this, every lawyer is different. I get a call and it takes me 10 minutes to say hello to Ms. Macias and answer the question that she asked me. I don't bill it. It's not legal services. Now, she tells me, an administrator asks me, someone in purchasing requests information, says I need to know the answer to this, and it requires me to become engaged, research, write, have an associate review something, then a bill will be issued for that. There's something that lawyers learn, I think you should, when you're young, is billing judgment. There are things that you bill for and things that you don't bill for when you have a client, if you intend to have a long-standing relationship with your clients.
It just finds it hard. You want to come back when we have this investigation. I know back in October and November of 2021, during the board meetings, I mean, we had an exchange on information when it came to stipends. And now we have problems with that. But you were aware of the problem and no action was taken. And yeah.
Again, I'll correct you, Mr. Castellano, that's incorrect. You asked the question about whether stipends that had been apparently at the time, because it's public record, approved by the administration without bringing them to the board, if that was proper. And I give you my opinion when asked on the spot. No, that has to go through a particular process. And
the process continued. And
I don't run the administrative portion of that. I gave an opinion on it that was direct.
Just to be fair, Mr. Blanco, 5 minutes for questions is done. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your time.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, according to the schedule, it is 7:07. We did have someone on the schedule who is not able to present, so we do a respondent, J. Cruz and Associates, who is not able to present. Since they are not able to present, we're going to be a little flexible in the agenda, and we're going to move forward the last presenter because they're here in person. So the last presenter, according to the schedule, was going to be Walsh, Gallegos, Trevino, Kyle, and Robinson. As I said, they are in person, so we're going to bring them rather than create a break where we do nothing. We're just going to ask them to present since they're here in person. So.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
Are you ready for us to?
A couple of minutes, please.
Okay.
We're going to wait for Ms. Nahida to return.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, makes sense.
You up, and hopefully that gets you out earlier as well. But
We're here for you guys.
basically, guidelines will be 15 minutes for your presentation and then 5 minutes for Q&A. I'll go ahead and let you know what time it is when we get started. And then you can, if your presentation is done early, then we'll adjust. If not, unfortunately, I will stop you at 15 minutes, and then we'll proceed to the questions for 5, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, so up now we have Walsh, Gallegos, Trevino, Kyle, and Robinson. The time is 7:11. Please go ahead.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name's Tony Resendez. I'm one of the shareholders in the San Antonio office of our firm. And with me today is Leandra. I'll let her introduce herself.
Yes, good evening. Leandra Ortiz. I'm also one of the shareholders in the firm. Come to you from the Valley office.
Board members, superintendent, we do have a short presentation. Hopefully it'll answer some of the questions you might have. You also have material about our firm, and we'll go ahead and get started. So the firm started back in 1983. Come this September, it'll be 40 years. And since that time, the emphasis has been on school law. Jim Walsh started the firm, and the founding partners in the firm made sure to establish a practice where the focus is on public education. And we represent roughly about 500 school districts across the state. Myself, I've been doing this for over 28 years. I've worked with school districts, San Antonio here in El Paso area, down in the Valley, up in Dallas, and the Corpus Christi area, in Houston. I've had the privilege to represent many great boards and many good superintendents to help them with the issues that they deal with on a day-to-day basis. The area that I really focus on is mainly working with boards, working with superintendents, and working on governance issues. Also, employment issues are one of the areas that I work on. I've been doing both of those areas since I've been doing school law. So it's something that I really enjoy. Leandra's, I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about her background, how long she's been doing this, and kind of what her area is.
So I come to you with about 19 years of experience as practicing, 12 years in school law. I've also served as an in-house counsel, so I have a unique perspective. I served as in-house counsel for Brownsville Independent School District for several years before coming to Walsh Gallegos, but knowing that this is the place where I needed to be in order to be able to serve many more boards and to be able to assist our clients across the state of Texas.
So the firm it focuses on school law. Leandra and I have a lot of experience in school law. We work with boards and superintendents every day, so we are more than capable, and we believe with the experience and knowledge to help you with the issues that you guys deal with on a day-to-day basis. And beyond that, I'll tell you personally, I'm a product of public education, born and raised in San Antonio, went through public education, high school, middle school, elementary, college. My dad is an educator. He actually served on the school board, so I have a unique perspective of understanding what those kind of issues look like. So we are definitely able to help you guys. So our biggest, I guess, approach that we like to really emphasize with our clients is being proactive. We try to, and our retainer program allows for that, because we don't want you to make decisions without having to check what the legal consequences are. So we have a retainer program where if it's an issue that you just need help with right away, we're not going to charge you for that. We're not going to nickel and dime our clients. You're going to pay the retainer rate if you hire us, and we're here to help you. We have a team of lawyers to help. And the idea is we do a lot of training on the front side. We try to get involved when something happens right away, so that way we can, give you some exposure to what the liability issues are and to try to deal with it before it turns into a lawsuit. So that's kind of a big part of how we like to work with our clients, and that's being proactive. And the key to really being proactive, too, or one of the keys, is communication. We want to develop a good relationship with you all as a team, and to make sure that you're able to communicate with us, whether it's through email, phone call, text messaging, and we're available to make sure we answer your questions. Andrew, you want to
Yeah,
go
so I
ahead?
just wanted to add that we are available to you 24/7. I think you could probably hear testimonies, maybe from other attorneys that tell you, or other board members that might tell you if they work with attorneys with Walsh Gallegos. We will be there to answer your call, and if we can't, someone else will. We have a team or an army of attorneys, we like to say. We'll make sure that you have an answer and that you're communicated and that you're not looking and spending time or wasting time and energy and money in order to find the answer that you need, because this is what we do. This is our specialty. And so we're here for you so that you can do what you're meant to do, which is to help the kids. Right? You're here to do instruction and not worry about the legal issues. However, we understand that those come up, and we're here to support you should you need anything, and support your administration as well. But we are here for the board.
One of the things that we're we're very well aware of is attorney's fees. You know, you're a public entity, you're spending public money, taxpayer money, and you don't want to have to spend it on lawyers. We understand that. And the best way to do that is to get us involved early on. You may have to spend a little bit on the front side, and it saves money on the back side because you're not getting sued, you're not walking into issues. So that really, in our opinion, is a big part of how we like to practice and how we like to work with our clients. So the scope of our services, we do all areas of school law that you will face. Employment issues, contracts, special ed, governance, policy issues, employment litigation, all those areas. We are on many insurance panels. We do a lot of litigation that helps us advise all of our clients. And what happens is, like, if your superintendent calls me, hey, Tony, we got this issue, we've never seen this before, can you help us with it? First thing I'll do is I'll email my team, which is about 63 lawyers in our firm, hey, have you ever seen anything like that? Sometimes somebody will say, yeah, I just researched that. Here's the most recent research. That saves the client a lot of time and money because we've already looked at it, we've already briefed it, we have it. Leandra and I have worked together for many years, and we do that all the time. Hey, have you seen this issue before? Hey, have you looked at that policy? What do you think? So we work collaboratively as a team, and we use our resources. We don't just have our team to have our team. We work together to make sure that we provide the best service to our client, and that saves you money. And we are well aware of that, and we try to do that. As sometimes I have superintendents call me all the time with questions, and I say, you know what, before I start researching it, let me just check with my team. Maybe somebody already looked at that issue. We work closely with TASB, we work closely with TEA, we were well aware of all the legal issues. Because we do so much litigation, we are up to speed on all the current cases that come out on school law. So we're well aware of those issues. I'm trying to keep track of time. You get a lawyer, a microphone, man, we're going to keep talking. But we're going to do the best we can. All right, and just cut us off. Here's the scope of our services. As you can see, this is just a laundry list. These are all the areas and then some that you guys will need lawyers for. I did see you guys hired bond counsel recently. That's one area that we actually do as co-bond counsel. A lot of our districts go out for elections. They are comfortable with us because we know all the election laws, campaign laws, what you can and can't do. And every bond firm in the state we've worked with as co-bond counsel. McCall, I believe, is the firm you guys just hired. Is that right? Was it McCall? Yeah, so. But that's one area that a lot of boards are looking for us to help with. So these are the areas. Leandro, you want to add?
I just wanted to add that, you know, some of the other areas that we have seen an increase in work and where we have an actual team is our facilities and business. So construction, contracts, day-to-day contracts, memorandums of understanding, financial issues as well as far as the funding and how things are implemented. I know there's been some new changes now that ESSER funds are going away and things like that. Yeah, exactly. And so we have a team as well that is all they do, day in, day out, facilities and business. And it's an awe to watch them work and to be able to turn around AIA documents and contracts and things like that quickly for our client to save them time and energy and money as well. So I just wanted to point that out as well, that we have a really great, robust team in that area.
Thank you, Leandra. Communication availability, as we mentioned, you know, we're pretty flexible, actually very flexible. And we understand that a lot of board members and superintendents, they got their regular day-to-day job. Sometimes they can't call us until the evening or on the weekends or early in the morning. We understand that, and we work with you on that. So we're very flexible. We have offices located throughout the state. So I know one of the questions is, you know, how are you going to serve our district and you're not here in El Paso? Well, we have offices all over the state. We've represented clients all over the state, and that's never been a problem. we'll make sure we're available. We are proactive. We try to make sure ahead of time we know where to be, or if something might come up, we're going to make sure that we can make it work. And also with one of the positive things about, unfortunately, the pandemic is all the virtual meetings and conference calls. Even in town, our clients just prefer to do that. It's more convenient, it's quicker, and it's something that we utilize quite a bit. Let's see. Our team approach, we mentioned that. We work together. You will have a team designated. That's going to be our Valley team and our San Antonio team. We're going to work together. But that doesn't mean that if we need to bring in one of our lawyers from Austin, Houston, Dallas to deal with an issue, they're all available. But this team would be the team designated to work with you on a day-to-day basis.
We make sure that you have a contact, so that, or several contacts, which would be Tony and myself, so that you have a feeling you have a direct link to us. But we internally make sure that if there's any information that needs to go out to our team, then that ends up going to our team so that we get filtered back to us, so that we can make sure you're always speaking with the same person and you feel continuity as well, if we can. Now, if there's a special issue, we'll bring in like somebody like our facilities and business person to make sure that you get the most expertise that you possibly can, if we can't serve that need.
So Leandra makes a very good point. We have several lawyers, but at the end of the day, it's the client that decides which lawyer they feel comfortable with. Leandra and I work together. We would be the point of contact. We would get to know you all if you hire us, and over time, one of us probably would be the one that you feel more comfortable with. But that being said, it's always important to have a backup, because if Leandra's the one you guys end up working with and she happens to be in court or not available and something comes up, you got to have somebody else. So then you'll call me, or vice versa. And if you can't get in touch with one of us, we have a whole team. You would just contact our paralegal or secretary, and they would make sure that somebody would deal with that issue. So. Yeah. We got great lawyers, but we even have better staff. I've been working with my paralegal for 18 years, my secretary for 7, and I couldn't do it without them. They're a great team. So we work together. So primary contacts, myself and Leandra, as we mentioned, and there's my cell phone, our cell phone numbers. We are available. So that's our presentation. Oh, our legal retainer program. So our program gives you a lot of benefits. We do a lot of publications. You get retainer rates, no charge retainer calls that we mentioned. We're not going to nickel and dime you. That's not the idea, because we know you guys would rather call with something ahead of time to make sure you don't get into trouble. And if we could help you with that, that's the benefit.
The other benefit is we do, as Tony was saying, we are proactive. We do a lot of trainings, and we make sure that if you are a retainer client, that you get reduced rates for those trainings. And I know that we already are looking at having some trainings for you guys, and so that would actually be a positive thing for you all to receive a reduced rate for those trainings as well.
So I think we got a minute or two left. Well, to sum it up, there's no doubt in my mind that I believe our firm is well qualified, well established, and has the skill set, the expertise, the experience, and we're really appreciative of this opportunity, and we would really like the opportunity to work with you guys. I don't think, I've been doing this for a long time. I think, we're one of the best school law firms out there, if not the best, but I really think we're good at it. So we'd like to work with you guys. So now we're ready for questions. Yes. Unless, Leandra, do you want to say anything else?
I just wanted to quickly close, because we're already there, just that we are here to serve you. And so whatever the district's needs are, we are here for you, as well as administration. Again, we work for the board, and we'll be available to you at any point in time that you need us.
And just to clarify, when she says we work for the board, we work for the board. You guys hire and fire the law firms. We know that. But on a day-to-day basis, we work with your superintendent. But the board is our client. Make no mistake. We understand that. But we understand the relationship with the superintendent, the team of 8, and we communicate a lot with administration, because they're the ones who are making sure the district gets things done. Correct. So, all right. So questions.
All right.
We're ready.
7:25. 5 minutes for questions. Ms. Macias.
As being good stewards of our community resources, could you please go over your costs and what it looks like? Have you have you served or helped a district our size, and what is the average cost? What does that look like per year?
Okay, well, I'll start. Yeah, so we've represented districts, from small districts, about 3,000 students, all the way up to like Northside ISD, over 100,000 students, and everything in between. So a district your size, you got about a little under 50,000 students, right? About 48, 49, 50 schools. So, that reminds me of San Antonio ISD or, Judson ISD, and Judson's growing, or Forney ISD. And our attorney bills for those firms, depending on, and again, I'll give, depending on what's going on, because there are times where, our biggest client is being sued or hit with a lot of Public Information Act requests, or there's a lot of grievances being filed. And so there are years where it may spike. A lot of times districts get sued, your litigation, your insurance carrier will cover those costs, but we keep track of both because you need to be aware. You have a deductible and it affects your insurance. It could range from $200,000 to $600,000. It really just depends on the nature of what legal issues you have going on. Leandra mentioned a lot of what we're dealing with, a lot of construction right now, a lot of real estate issues. And that's been taking up, a lot of our resources in terms of our manpower and our lawyers for, so that's been a really big thing right now. But we know you guys have to budget too. So we will just talk frankly, okay, well, what has your budget's been over the last few years? And let's talk about what kind of cases do you have? And then we literally will try to, if you have a non-renewal or a termination or a grievance on the front side, we will talk to you about, okay, if you want to propose non-renewal, let me tell you what that's going to look like. Let me tell you what that's going to cost. If you want to go forward with the termination, let's talk about that. We might be able to get it settled for 6 months' salary. That's fine. Or you want to fight, hey, we'll take $50,000, $60,000, but you can get it settled and get it done. And we try to do that proactively on the front side. We always do. And one thing, if you check our references, if you check with our clients, I cannot remember a single time where our fees have been an issue. We will make sure that we work with our client to make sure that it's taken care of at a reasonable cost. Does that make sense? Because we're well aware that you guys are being scrutinized for how you spend government, public funds. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps answer your question. Okay.
Mr. Senator's talking about costs. I'm looking at one of their tabs on tab 5, expense charges.
Sure.
Since you guys are out of San Antonio, would you be charging us travel expenses, such as the airfare and hotel and taxi?
Leandra and I actually were talking about that. I think it's up for negotiation, and I think we're going to be reasonable. We're not going to charge you. We're not going to try to nickel and dime you. Like, for example, if you need a lawyer at every meeting and we can plan ahead and it's something scheduled, then we would talk to you about, okay, maybe it's, the flight I just took, a direct flight, an hour and 25 minutes, an hour and 25 minutes back. We would charge something reasonable, but we would want to make sure you're comfortable with it. In terms of hotel and those kind of things, we would be reasonable as best we can. But I will tell you this, we're open to ideas, and we're open to, because you guys would have needs that, in my opinion, I think we can figure something out. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to ask the same question about travel and if that was a cost that our community would have to pay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when I do a lot of traveling. I'll travel to Houston, Dallas. I mean, I was in Dallas the other, and I don't bill you while I'm sitting and waiting. I'm working on other matters, working for other clients.
One more question, sir.
Oh,
before your time runs out. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So I just wanted to see if you can expand on Ms. Macias's question. So if you're having to rewrite a lot of policy or new contracts, or let's just say there was not a federal procurement process in place, so you have to create one, you're under TA investigation, there's a lot of grievances, stuff like that. Over the year, for a district this size, about 6,000 employees, 50,000 students, 51 schools. What is the high-end number of the example I just gave you, and what is the low-end number of the example I just gave you?
I think it's going to depend on what's happening at that specific school district. So, like Tony was saying, there are some times when there's just a lot of political issues that are happening, and it creates a lot more grievances, a lot more Public Information Act requests. But at the end of the day, you can say he wants a number.
Can we Just for clarification, so you wanted like a total number range overall cost?
Low end and high end with the things that I just gave you, the examples that I just gave you.
So a district this size, I could see the high end being 700,000-800,000, low end 200,000-300,000.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you all very much.
Appreciate your time.
Thank y'all very much. We appreciate it.
Next presenter is a virtual, so are y'all with Richards, Lindsay, and Martin?
Yes, sir. My name is Jose Martin.
Yes, we have one person on standby, remote, and then we have the rest of the team here in person.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, y'all walked in and the schedule says virtual, so I was.
Actually, O'Hanlon, Deborah Castillo, and Ben, and should be on.
Oh,
Ben.
Yes, that's all right. It's a mix-up.
okay.
Do you want us to swap the other firm?
No. If we can get O'Hanlon, Demrath, and Castillo on the line, please. Yes. So it'll be one second.
Well, according to the schedule, we've got Richards, Lindsay, and Martin.
Okay. We'll wait. We'll step out. We'll wait for them.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll do that.
Back to the person who was on standby, please. Is that Mr. Martin?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Martin. Okay, so we'll continue with our next presenter. Mr. Martin is here virtually. It is Richards, Lindsay, and Martin, or Martin. Mr. Martin, we've got 15 minutes for your presentation. I'll give you the time when we get started. You can continue for 15 minutes. If you take the full 15 minutes, I will go ahead and interrupt you. If you end early, then we'll proceed with 5 minutes of Q&A, okay?
Very good.
Thank you, sir. Time is 7:33, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Carmen and board members. My name is Jose Martin. I'm an attorney at law and founding partner of Richards, Lindsay, and Martin. We're a law firm out of Austin, Texas. I want to move briefly and concisely through the presentation to allow for any questions that you might have. We can go ahead and go on to the slide on my statement of qualifications. I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. I've been a licensed attorney in good standing and to practice in Texas for 32 years. I'm licensed, obviously, to practice in the state courts of Texas. But for my purposes, it's more important to be licensed in the federal courts. I'm licensed in the federal court for the district court of the Western District. That's the district in which El Paso belongs, and the Southern Districts, as well as the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. I'm kind of a rare bird as a school attorney, as my practice has always been exclusively devoted to the area of special education and Section 504 in the public schools. I started in this area of law at the very beginning of my practice. I've stayed in it because I like to work with special educators and parents with special education students. I have a passion for this area of practice. Aside from the practice, I want to also highlight that I've been extensively published in the area of disability laws and their impact and interplay with public school district practice. I've been published since the 1990s in this area fairly widely, and that's related as well to a significant experience providing presentations. I've got 30 years of experience presenting at and consulting with local and state education agencies across the United States, including long-term relationships with the State Department of Education in Hawaii, where we did consulting for 15 years. I have an 18-year history of consultation and help with the Wyoming Department of Education and a lot of other State Department of Education across the country. We can go ahead on to the next slide with my statement. Of course, importantly, I have extensive experience litigating special education cases at every level. Other than the Supreme Court, I've litigated dozens of cases at the administrative level, numerous U.S. District Court appeals, and also some Fifth Circuit Court appeals with a very successful track record. Although I must also stress that in our special education practice, statistics indicate that in Texas, over 95% of special education litigation is actually not resolved through trial, but is settled in some fashion. And over the years, I've settled literally hundreds of cases, either informally or through formal mediations. I'm experienced in all facets of representation in special education and Section 504. We can move on to, I believe, what the next area is in the slides is I have a list of clients, I believe is the next area. We can move on to the next slide. Current clients that you would be interested in is, of course, I have worked with Socorro ISD in representing your district in the area of special education and Section 504 since 2016. So you've kind of tried me out. You can talk to your special education director. I've worked closely with Dr. Jansen, and I've got a lot of experience working with your assistant special education director, Jorge Saenz. In fact, I knew him when I represented the school district in Fabens ISD, when he was special education director there. I've also worked a lot with your other assistant special ed director, Melissa Olivares. Of note also in your area, I've represented your neighboring district, Isleta ISD, for 25 plus years. But other clients of a long-term nature include Alice ISD in Southeast Texas, Cluster 5 Co-op out of the Uvalde area for 31 years, Duval County Co-op out of the Alice area for 29 years, and back in your area, San Elizario ISD for the last 24 years, and this is among others. Past clients have included Fabens ISD, who I represented for 19 years, and Kingsville ISD, who I represented for 24 years. So generally, my practice is based on not a large amount of clientele, but rather a modest amount of clients, which I intend to serve well. And my law partner and I like to serve our clients thoroughly and satisfactorily. You see that it's a combination of some medium to large school districts and some small school districts and education co-ops. I'll note that my relationships with school districts clients have usually been quite long-term relationships. If you look in my written presentation materials, you'll see a fuller list of clients over time and contacts that, of course, the district can communicate with if they want to ask about my representation. I pride myself with my clients in being available easily and quickly. That's sort of our MO in our firm practice, which is to respond quickly and be available as school districts' needs arise. We can go on to the next slide. Next slide has to do with personnel. We're a small law firm and have always been so since we were founded in 1994. We started with 3 law partners and attorneys, 1 retired. So we are currently 2 law partners and attorneys, 1 licensed in 1989. I was licensed in 1991, and we have 1 office manager. We have a very modest and small office. That's the way we've always operated, as a very lean office structure. We do all of our own legal research as the attorneys and partners in the firm. We do all our own writing. We do all our own litigating and consulting with clients. We make no use of law clerks, researchers, or associate attorneys. We do all the work ourselves. That's just been the way that we've done it from the very start. If you call me for legal advice on any given day, you're not going to speak with an associate. You're not going to speak with somebody you don't know. You're going to speak with me or my law partner. And that's just the way we like to run our business and the way we've always done it. And we can turn to the next area. You asked about how we can provide services when we're located in Austin and you're located in El Paso. I must state that historically, and this is even before the time of COVID, most special ed representation is not handled at the district. Most special ed representation is handled by phone, by transmission of documents nowadays electronically. We used to have to send paper files by FedEx and so forth, not so anymore. And nowadays, by conducting meetings virtually. The COVID pandemic has resulted in a change in practices in how special education legal practice operates. Currently, for example, art committee meetings are commonly held by virtual platform where there's some members are in a particular room, but parents and their attorneys may be, the parents are at home or the attorneys are at their workplaces. And this platform has actually proven quite effective since the COVID pandemic, because in an art committee meeting on a virtual basis, we can all see each other visually and we can all look at the same documents that are being shared. So this has actually become a quite common way in which parents now participate in art committee meetings. I'll note that in litigation, documents are always filed electronically. In fact, the federal courts no longer accept paper or in-person filings. You can't show up at a federal court and file a document as an attorney. You are required to file them through their electronic system. And that's the way that it works in special ed litigation at the administrative level. And in fact, post-COVID, the current TEA policy is to conduct mediations and due process hearings by virtual platform also. And I think it's because the state has recognized that holding these mediations and due process hearings in a virtual fashion is cost effective because it reduces the travel time for mediators and due process hearing officers, and of course the associated travel costs. So actually most of special education practice is handled, in fact, remotely and has historically been handled remotely. But I have a couple of other thoughts on this point in the following slide. They asked about emergency matters. Any emergency matter can be handled remotely. We've never encountered a situation where an urgent matter could not be handled due to our physical location. Documents can be filed on a short-term basis, either in court or with a hearing officer. Exchanges can be had through email communications. A Zoom meeting can be scheduled in an hour's time. And again, my philosophy has always been of easy availability for the school district. I provide my personal cell phone number to the school district staff persons in case they need me. And they know that I don't have a problem being contacted after hours. I don't have a problem being contacted on the weekends. I've always told folks, I don't want you to be nervous or be worrying about something if talking to me might be able to help that, whether that's on a Sunday evening or a Friday at 7 o'clock in the evening, that's perfectly okay. With respect to the other aspects that have done work for the district, which is in terms of workshops and in-service presentations, I've always left it up to the district. Pre-COVID, these have always been live presentations. During the pandemic, they turned into all being virtual presentations. At the present time, it's at the option of the district. I'll provide these presentations to Socorro ISD either live or virtually at the district's discretion. It seems that of late, the district has opted to have these on a live basis. I do think it's more effective, even if not as cost effective, but that's entirely at the district's discretion. I'll do it any way the district wants to handle it. And with that, I think I have about 3 minutes left, and I'll defer that to any questions that any of you may have for me.
Mr. Martin, thank you very much. Okay, so it is now 7:45. We have 5 minutes for Q&A. Questions? Senator?
Thank you for your presentation. My question is, can you tell us a little bit about the rates that you would charge our district for your services?
Our current rate is $245 an hour, and that's competitive in the area of practice of special education, as it's quite specialized and at the experience level that I have, which is over 30 years.
Regarding situations where we would need you here in person, would we as a district be responsible for your travel expenses?
Yes, our policy has been to charge travel expenses, but only actual travel expenses and not travel time. Travel time is not billed, only actual travel costs, which we try to make as modest as possible, but that's generally our policy, and I think a pretty commonplace policy that travel costs are billed, but not the travel time. I do think some attorneys charge some different rate for travel time. We do not. We charge no amount for travel time.
Mr. Martin, I know you've served our district as our special ed counsel. Have you served as a general counsel to any districts and any of our size?
No, not as general counsel. I don't have the breadth and scope of legal experience and knowledge to serve as a general counsel for a district. The general counsel is called upon to advise districts in multiple legal areas. And that is not, I'm not a general practitioner. I'm quite a specialized practitioner. My expertise, my knowledge, and my experience lies, again, in the area of special education and 504. So no, I do not serve as general counsel for a school district, nor would I believe.
Thank you for that clarification, sir.
Any other questions? Well, Mr. Martin, well, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your time and your presentation today.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you all and have a nice evening.
Okay, we'll continue with one more presentation and then take a brief break. Yeah, okay. Next up is O'Hanlon, Demarath, and Castillo. Just a quick second.
Just for the record, we're the O'Hanlon, Demarath, and Castillo law firm, and we have 2 of our attorneys joining virtually, so we're just waiting for them to pop up.
Okay. We're waiting for one of our members to return as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Y'all let me know when they're ready.
They should be in the queue. Let's see.
Okay, they're ready. Quick ground rules. Thank you so much for being here. You'll be allowed 15 minutes for a presentation. You don't have to take all 15 minutes, but if you hit the 15-minute timeline, I will stop you. After that, we'll allow 5 minutes for Q&A. Okay? Thank you. Floor is yours.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, good evening to the honorable trustees and Dr. Carmen and the president of the board. It is such a privilege to stand before you all tonight. It is my pleasure to introduce O'Hanlon, Demarath, and Castillo to all of you. My name is Shelley Smith. I'm an associate in our Rio Grande Valley office. And joining us online tonight, we have Mr. Benjamin Castillo, a shareholder, and Mr. Nick Maddox, also a shareholder. I believe you can see them here on the screen now. And also I have the esteemed Leslie Alvarez here with us tonight, and our local counsel, Mr. Michael Chavez, here tonight as well. And so we're just honored to present this proposal to the distinguished Board of Trustees of Socorro Independent School District. I'm just going to put this simply. We want to work for this district. Our experience and knowledge is plenty. We have the right people. We have a footprint in virtually every corner of Texas under the school law realm. We have the ability to address essentially any school law legal issue that comes through your doors. We also are a one-stop shop for any type of issue that comes up through the umbrella of school law. And with that, we humbly present ourselves as legal partners to help you navigate the intricate landscape that is school law. Our firm, like all of you here tonight, are driven by a commitment to education as well as a commitment to striving for the pursuit of excellence for our clients on behalf of our clients. At ODC, we understand the nature of the responsibilities and the weight on your shoulders. We understand the nature, and it is with this spirit that we offer our support and legal expertise to help you tackle the challenges that lie ahead. We have a team of seasoned attorneys that have successfully represented numerous school districts across the state. In doing so, we have amassed an unparalleled depth of every single type of issue that can come under the umbrella of school law. Our collective legal experience spans all of the areas crucial to educational institutions. We have a deep understanding of school and public entity law, special education law, 504 law, construction law, real estate, labor and employment law, and we have school finance background. We also have a unique and unprecedented amount of knowledge regarding federal and state legislative matters. Our firm brings a unique set of skills and experienced perspectives to serve not only the Board of Trustees, but the entire school district of Socorro ISD. What sets us apart is not just our legal proficiency, but also we have several attorneys in our firm who have unique backgrounds rooted in school district experience. So many of our attorneys have begun their careers as teachers, administrators, and even school board members. By engaging O'Hanlon, Demrath, and Castillo, you will gain an access to a suite of legal services under one roof. Our firm possesses the capacity, experience, and breadth to handle all the necessary legal work for Socorro ISD. You can have peace of mind knowing that we will be here for every step of the way, providing day-to-day legal tasks required by the vast landscape of public education. And importantly, we bring innovation to the table. We stand here today ready to be your trusted legal advocates, providing guidance, counsel, and support necessary to confront the legal challenges that can arise. Thank you so much for considering our partnership. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Leslie Alvarez.
Good evening, members of the board. Dr. Carmen, thank you so much for having us here today. I am trying to figure out where to point this to click to the next slide. I keep pressing it, but it won't go. Oh, there we go. I went too far. So it's this way. My name is Leslie Alvarez, and I'm an associate out of the San Antonio office. I am a very proud attorney at the O'Hanlon, Demrath, and Castillo law firm. I am also the proud daughter of 2 Mexican immigrants, and both who are public school employees. My father has been a bus driver for the last 20 years, and my mom is a retired teacher who now subs whenever she isn't babysitting my son or my nieces. I'm also a proud mother of a 7-month-old and the wife of a first responder and Marine Corps veteran. I'm also the proud sister of an adult with a disability, and before joining ODC, I represented families of students with disabilities in special education matters against school districts, quite frankly. And through that role, I was able to work with a lot of the education law firms across the state of Texas. And truly, ODC was always the most responsive, the most respectful, the the most compassionate towards my then clients and myself and the needs of the students. And so when I was approached by ODC to join the firm, I really didn't hesitate because I truly knew that I was going to be at a firm that had similar values to mine, and that I could serve my community in a wider role and just continue to give back to public schools because they've given so much to my family and myself. And so I truly take my job really seriously, and a lot of us at the firm are super passionate about the work that we do. And so through this presentation, I truly hope that you see the value in ODC, the value that I saw, and the value that I continue to experience every day that I get to work with the team that I do. And so as Shelley mentioned, our firm truly revolves around education law. We eat, we breathe education law day in and day out. It is what we do. We really are here to serve our clients, and we are so ready to serve Socorro ISD in these same issues that we face every day. So our qualifications go back to 1994. I'm sorry, in the 1990s when Mr. Kevin O'Hanlon retired from the Texas Education Agency as general counsel, and he created the firm. And so we are truly rooted in education. A lot of our attorneys at the firm, I think Shelley touched on this, have some background in education. We have former educators, we have former administrators, and that truly brings so much to the table because we have people that have been in the roles of the clients that we are serving, and it allows us to have such a robust experience and a lot of quality that we bring to our clients. So since 1994, we have grown to 15 attorneys, and we are growing almost every day, it seems like. About 50% of the firm is women, and about 30% of us are Spanish speakers, and that is truly something that's really important because we always want to reflect the communities that we are serving, and so making sure that when we are hiring attorneys that we are paying attention to those types of things is really important to us. And so again, if you're looking for a firm that comes with robust experience, not just as a firm, but individually as attorneys, we all have just such robust experience in the education world, you're looking at the right firm. And so now we have a list of some of the clients that we currently serve. We gave you all a list with more of a longer list of clients that we serve and that we have served in the past. You'll see Brownsville ISD, which is a district that is similarly sized to Socorro ISD. And we think that's important to present to you because we are ready, we are equipped to serve a district the size of yours. In the next slide, we'll see that we have some references. And again, this is important because we can stand up here and rave about the firm, and we can say how responsive we are, and we can say, you know, how knowledgeable we are and efficient we are. But truly, you will get this from our current and past clients. So we truly encourage you to reach out to some of our references and ask them for yourselves what type of work that we do, how responsive we are. And I think I want to touch on being responsive because that truly is something that you should look for when you're looking at a firm is, are these attorneys answering my calls? Are they answering my questions? Because we understand that the work that you do, you need answers that same day. You need answers immediately when you call upon us. And that's something that we pride ourselves on, being very responsive. You all have our cell phone numbers. You don't have to go through an office line or a secretary to reach us. You will get us. And if we can't answer because we are occupied, we will send you a text. Hey, we are busy. We'll call you right back, or we'll send you an email. And that's something truly special about the firm that since being here, I have, truly embraced and been available to my clients 24/7 because we realize that the work that you all do doesn't just end at 5. It goes on to the weekend and on to the breaks, and we are here to serve you and help you through all of the issues whenever you have them. And so again, back to the references, I think it is really important that you reach out to them. It's important for you to know that we serve clients as big as Socorro and as small as some of our little towns, and so we know what it's like to work with all types of clients, and we are ready for you. And so I'm sorry, I went too fast. In our references, you see that we have included board members and also superintendents, and so it's important for you to also reach out to the diverse people that we have on here so that you know how we work as board counsel or administration counsel. We also do specific work, special education, for example, that is my expertise. And so there are districts where we only assist them with special education. And we want you to know that we are very flexible in how we do business, and we'd be happy to serve you in whatever capacity it is that you need us to. And so we've already kind of talked about, touched on a little bit of the experience that some of our attorneys have. In these next slides, you can read a little bit more about our backgrounds. The primary team we are bringing to Socorro ISD consists of Mr. Benjamin Castillo, Mr. Nicholas Maddox, and Mr. David Chavez, who I have here with me. And Mr. Castillo and Mr. Maddox are on Zoom. And so at the end of this presentation, you feel free to ask them any questions that you have. But we believe that we are offering a very robust primary team to the Socorro ISD. I work with Mr. Castillo and Mr. Maddox on a daily basis, and I am amazed by their capabilities every single day. They answer phone calls almost immediately and have responses and answers for our clients on the go. And that truly has been really great for me to learn from, and also such an asset to our clients, really, because their knowledge is just absolutely mind-blowing, honestly. And so aside from our primary team, we also are presenting the rest of the team, which if the slide would go, it's in the same format. We have a list of the names and our biographies that you can read in more detail. But I specifically want to touch on two people that are truly such great assets to our district clients. We have Ms. Christy Godden, who previously to joining the firm, she was an assistant general for the state of Texas in the Open Records Division. And so she knows all things open records, records requests, PIA requests, FERPA issues. She is one of those people that you ask her a question and she can recite the law to you. And that makes our services so efficient because we don't have to waste time researching. We don't have to waste time. Granted, we have to confirm, but she is just amazing and truly very intelligent and such an asset to the firm and to the district whenever we represent Socorro ISD. Another person that I want to touch on is Miss Leslie McCullum. Again, she is such an asset and intelligent attorney who specializes in employment, and we realize that that is an issue that a lot of our districts have on a day-to-day basis, our employment questions. She is one of those people, again, that you can ask a question and she will give you the answer right then and there. And again, going back to efficiency, we don't have to waste a lot of time. We don't have to go anywhere else but within our firm. We have the capacity to answer your day-to-day questions, and we don't have to spend hours and days looking for your answer because we probably have it within our firm. And so as I hope you can see by now, all of us truly bring something unique. All of the attorneys in our office are ready and willing to serve you. We will answer your call. If we can't answer it, we will let you know that we will call you back. That is truly a quality that O'Hanlon, DeMeritt, and Castillo attorneys bring to the table. All of us bring something unique, and we're fully equipped and ready to handle all of the Socorro ISD legal needs. We're all passionate about our work and providing quality and truly efficient services. That is what we pride ourselves on, and it is our top priority when we are serving you. And so in the spirit of efficiency, I will pass it on back to Shelley so that she can talk a little bit about our financial proposal and nearing the end of this presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you again. I will try not to keep you all much longer, but I did want to touch on some points regarding our financial proposal. So our tenets here are that everything is transparent and that you receive full and firm detailings of everything that we are doing for your district down to the minute, every single billing cycle. We also, it is very, very important to us that we have, that we provide you with the efficiency that a school district your size requires. We have the quality, we have all of that, but yes, we are very much hoping to work with you on a great financial plan that will serve you all well and give you the service that you need and expect. And then the next slide I'm going to discuss is having to do with our locations. Again, I mentioned earlier that we do have a footprint in nearly every single corner of Texas in the realm of school law. Currently, we have a firm in Fort Worth, an office, our principal office is in Austin. We have the San Antonio office, and then we have the Rio Grande Valley office. down south. And then should our firm be selected to represent Socorro ISD, we are, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that's all right. I'm so sorry. We went over. Thank you.
Continue with Q&A. Questions? 5 minutes for questions. Questions?
The end of your presentation, that'll be the question. You were about to say something about if it's selected.
Oh, great. So if selected, we do already have a temporary office set up here with Mr. Chavez, but we would like to commit to purchasing an office in the future and retaining and hiring local talent to staff that office.
Thank you.
Yes, trustee, thank you.
Yes, my general question, cost. What do you all cost?
Ben, we can't hear you. I'm sorry. He has a financial proposal for you all. Sorry, y'all. Thank you for
It's
your
all right.
patience.
Still on mute.
Yeah, you're still muted. Is it?
I think they both are.
Yeah, it might be on our end.
But yeah, to answer that question, we are willing to work with the district. I know earlier we saw some proposals of, I believe the hourly rate was 175 associate, 220, I believe was for partner, and we are willing to match that and work with the district to get to a rate that works for you all.
If you worked with a district our size, how much does it cost them per year?
I wouldn't be able to answer that question. I believe Nick and Mr. Maddox have the numbers of that. That's their primary client, at least for Mr. Maddox. But I'm not sure if he.
Yes, we're more than happy to provide those exact numbers to you in a follow-up. Thank you, trustee.
Also, a copy of the presentation was not given to us in a handout, so we don't have the reference numbers. Can we get a copy of
Yes,
that?
absolutely. We'll make sure you get one of those before we leave today.
Questions?
Yes. Again, I'm going to add to her question, but expand on it a little bit, is the scope of work for this size of district, you know, almost 50,000, 7,000 employees, you know, having to rewrite a lot of policies, contracts, real estate, stuff like that. When I look at that, it's been old, outdated, so obviously that's going to take work on your all's end to make sure that we're covered, right? But when you add that and you get that information back to us, can you add that in there to see what the cost would look like on average with that type of scope of work for the whole year?
Absolutely, and I'd like to add, and this is a good point that I wasn't able to make in our presentation because we're a little bit too long-winded. I apologize, but our plan is when we come into a new district is we don't impose a protocol or a system or we're going to do this or this and this on you all. You guys already know what you're doing. You have a well-oiled system. We want to integrate, right? So we're going to sit down with all of you, identify the needs, and like some of what you had just mentioned, and we are going to put together a plan of action together. And, you know, we're not here to hand you a protocol of how to give us legal work. We're just here to make it work for what you all need.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Smith, do I recall correctly that somewhere in your proposal you all mentioned a cap for services, or am I getting confused?
No cap for the services, sir.
No cap?
That's definitely something that we can discuss.
But we can.
Absolutely.
Oh.
We can. Yeah, Ben's giving the thumbs up, our shareholder.
Okay. Any additional questions?
So, can you hear us?
Now we can.
Yes, we can.
Oh,
We
great.
already
I
answered
can
your
answer.
questions, though.
Good.
No, they did have a question about Brownsville ISD and kind of what their fees look like. I'm guessing in a year
Mr.
or.
President, members of the Board of Trustees, if we could have just a few moments to elaborate on y'all's questions, we would appreciate that.
In fairness, sir, I'm sorry I cannot allow that, but certainly we did pose some questions, and the commitment was made to get answers to those questions. So if we could just get answers to those questions.
I can tell you 250,000 for a district about your size. That's how much we're currently billing Brownsville ISD. And yes, we're open to a cap. Again, we're here to help y'all. We're not here to bill you as much as we can. We're here to serve y'all, help y'all serve your communities. I'm a board member myself, so I understand having to be aware of public monies. So we are more than willing to help y'all with your budgetary needs. And like Shelley said in the beginning, we very, very much want to work for Socorro ISD. And I think we could do a really good job for y'all based on all of our expertise and our knowledge, every single lawyer in the firm.
I'm told that the technology issue was on our side. So in consideration of that, is anyone opposed to allowing another, say, 3 minutes? No? Okay. I don't know if y'all have anything else. Mr. Castillo, Mr. Maddox, anything that you all want to add?
Well, Mr. Board President, I really, really appreciate the extra time. I just want to make sure that all your questions are answered as far as those costs. I know as far as our hourly rate, we could do the $225 an hour for shareholders, the $200 or so for associates, and the $90 an hour for paralegals. As far as costs for comparable districts, again, we represent multiple districts that are around your size, and generally the cost never really goes over $300,000 per year for legal services. As far as any travel costs, those are negotiable. We routinely don't charge our clients for travel costs. So if that's something that you guys want us to do, we're more than willing. Again, we really, really want to represent y'all. I know we can do a really great job for y'all. As far as anything with TEA, there's no firm in the state of Texas that has our experience and in dealing with the Texas Education Agency with respect to contested issues. We routinely represent districts on those matters, going from Houston ISD all the way to the smallest district of up to 80 kids. So we have very, very extensive experience with that, starting with our main partner, Kevin O'Hanlon, who was general counsel for TA back in the 90s. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if all the questions were answered, but we hope to speak with you soon, and we can cap our fees. That was the last question, I think. Thank you, Nick, for putting that in the chat.
I'm gonna ask the question. For the scope of work, if policies are outdated, contracts, real estate, you have to, as we grow, we have to update that stuff. Obviously, we're under T investigation. When you look at that scope of work that has to be done, to include grievances and stuff like that, on a district our size, what is a high-end number and what is a lower number considering those factors? I mean, if you're constantly having to do that type of work.
So as far as policy review and policy updates, I mean, we routinely work with TASB when districts want us to update those policies and review them. Or if we don't like what TASB submits, we do them for y'all. I guarantee you any question that you may have had, we've seen it before, so it's not going to cost you very much more than our regular cost of services to districts your size. As far as grievances, everybody has them. Sometimes they spike up a little bit more. Sometimes they're more dormant. But I mean, I think your district's around $300,000 to $400,000 if I had to put a number on it, based on my experience with districts your size. Yeah, to answer your question, that would be my guess. With not knowing how your administration.
I don't want to go over the time, Mr. Castillo. I just want to ask a real quick question. What is your average cost for travel?
Our average cost for travel. So, like I said before, we generally don't even charge for travel. Fort Worth ISD is one district that I personally service, and they asked me not to charge for travel, so we don't. And we routinely have those arrangements with districts. So I can't even give you that answer because we generally don't travel. We don't charge for it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Castillo.
Thank y'all very much. Appreciate your time. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you, Board Members.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us here tonight.
Thank you, Superintendent.
Okay. Claudia? Do you have all the presentations, Miss Claudia? Do you have all the presentations? Oh, okay. So, Miss Smith. Oh, okay. Never mind. Never mind. Thank you so much. Okay, so next up, we're going to have Powell Law Group, but we're going to take a 5-minute break between now and then. Sorry? Yes, they are. Don't see it. There we go. Good evening, gentlemen. Can you hear me okay? Can y'all hear me okay? I can't hear you.
Yes, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Can hear you. Okay, next
Good.
up. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Oh, and Ms. Vaya as well. Next up, we have the Powell Law Group. Just ground rules. You have 15 minutes for a presentation. You don't have to take all 15 minutes, but if we do hit the 15-minute mark, I will stop you. After that, we have 5 minutes for Q&A. Okay? Monday. Well, I
Great.
didn't break from recess. I didn't. Yeah. Okay. So I guess we didn't break for recess, but it did say on the screen. Let's go ahead and come back. Date's Monday, June 5th. Time is 8:22. Gentlemen, we have now for, I'm sorry, Ms. Vaya, Mr. Lambert, Mr. Alvarado. Next up, we have Powell Law Group. Again, ground rules. We have 15 minutes for the presentation. If you hit the time limit, I will stop you, but you don't have to take all 15 minutes. After that, we'll have 5 minutes for Q&A. Okay? Floor is yours.
Thank you, board members, Dr. Carmen. My name is Rick Lambert. I am a partner with the Powell Law Group, and we are very pleased to have the opportunity to speak with you tonight about providing general counsel legal services to the Socorro ISD. You can see that we have a presentation in front of you. And first, about our firm. The Powell Law Group has been around since 1996. It's a full service statewide law firm providing primarily services to school districts across the state. One of the key things with regard to our practice is to provide early consultation to the extent we have the opportunity with the district so that we can intervene and train our client representatives and provide timely, effective legal services in order to address their needs. We have a diverse group of clients, and I'll have a slide in a few minutes that focuses on that diversity. If you can see here, we provide services in all areas that a school district would face. Whether it be dealing with employment issues, which is oftentimes the most prominent legal related issue for a district, as well as student rights and discipline. But then if you see, we have experience in every possible area: litigation, construction, contracting, and disputes. We serve as bond counsel and represent districts in all aspects of elections, whether it be bond or trustee, real estate, disability law, constitutional issues, special ed, purchasing and acquisition and contract negotiations. One of the things that is not on this particular slide, but I want to mention a little bit about it because I know it's come up in questions from your board. We have represented school districts either who are appearing as witnesses or tangentially related to criminal proceedings. I've worked with the FBI and with the U.S. Attorney's Office in terms of dealing with education entities who are serving as witnesses or related to criminal matters. I've also represented school districts who have had administrators or school board members who have been investigated either by federal or state law enforcement agencies. We also have extensive experience working with the Department of Education, Civil Rights, Student Privacy, as well as TEA in all aspects of their investigations. Any given day or evening, oftentimes, you'll find our attorneys across the state face-to-face with administrator board members related to the services, legal services that are being provided. Probably one of our keys would be that our clients tell us that in addition to being experts in our fields in which we represent our clients, we give unparalleled level of personal attention. We're available day and night, and my clients have my cell phone numbers, and I get calls on nights and weekends pretty much every on a weekly basis. But as you can see, it's woven into the DNA of our group that we believe in public education, and we believe it as a calling. And I can speak to that specifically. I served on the Garland ISD school board for 2 terms. Garland is a district that at that time was 58,000 kids. And I served in a number of officer positions, including board president. I think Ms. Nahira can speak to the fact that she and I served in a leadership class in TASB together and spent a year, so she knows a little bit about the kind of individual that I am, and hopefully would echo what I've said about my belief and service in public education. This slide here, I present to you just to give you an idea that we have clients that are from north to south and most all over the state. Now, we do not have clients in El Paso, but part of the reason why I present this map to you is to show you or to answer the question of how would we provide services to your school district if we don't have a presence in El Paso. I personally logged over 40,000 miles in my vehicle last year, going to districts across the state. And if you look up on the northern part of that Red River up there, you can see Quanah ISD. Or if you look far over to the northeast, you can see Texarkana. It would take me longer because I have to drive to get to Quanah or Texarkana than it would take for me to get to El Paso, because obviously I could fly to El Paso. But in the way that we would propose handling, providing service to your district would be, we would take a look at what your needs are and custom make a contract specifically for your school district. A lot of firms, they have a particular deal that they offer to school district clients if they sign up for a retainer arrangement or something like that. I would propose, number one, if you would like for me to do so, I'd be your point of contact. I'm a partner in the firm, and I would be the one that your district representatives or your board president would speak to if you had a legal issue. If what you need, if what you want is to have someone with a presence in the school district on a regular basis, that's what we would work out in terms of a contract. But the way your procurement policy works is this first step is for us to demonstrate qualifications. And clearly we demonstrate that we're able to handle any type of matter that Socorro ISD would face. And then from there, we negotiate a contract once you've determined that we're qualified to provide the service. And so, for example, we could take a look at what have you experienced over the last decade or longer, however long you want to look at it. And we would come up with a contract that addresses how often we're going to be there, what could be a cap with regard to the maximum amount that we would expend during a particular period of time, what would be the travel related costs, all of those things we would address, and we would make sure that it met the expectations of how much you think you will need in terms of the amount of service and what would be reasonable that you could then be able to look in straight face to your constituents, your taxpayers, et cetera, and they would not question what you're spending on legal services. This is a slide indicating who our attorneys are. You can see that there on the top line, you've got Mr. Powell, Mr. Youngblood, myself, who are all partners. We all have in excess of 30 years of experience practicing law. And then I want to kind of focus on a couple of other key folks. Everybody in our group is well qualified and has their attributes, and I could give accolades to. But I want to talk about down at the bottom, for example, we've got Rick Powell of counsel, who is a former procurement administrator within a very large district that is similar in size to Socorro. He also served as general counsel to one of the largest interlocal co-ops in the state of Texas. So there is no better expertise on procurement related issues. You can see Robert Scott of counsel. Robert Scott is the former commissioner of education in the state of Texas. So obviously he's got the expertise to provide a whole lot of expertise, whether it be related to advocacy or in particular dealing with the agency. Then you got Bill Bednar down at the bottom. He's one of the deans of school law within the state of Texas. And one of the things to try to comment on, because I've served as a board member in one of your largest school districts in the state of Texas, I understand what you're facing. I've sat in the same chair that you're sitting in terms of trying to make sure that the best quality service to the district is provided, and I believe and kind of live that mentality as a lawyer. Then I want to talk a little bit about our consultants, because in addition to our lawyers, we also have a large number of consultants who are former service center directors, who are former superintendents, and have Heather Sheffield, for example, is also a current board member for Ames ISD, which is a high-profile district. And so we've got extensive experience from that standpoint. And Dr. Alvarado is one of those consultants that we have, and he was kind enough to be a part of this presentation tonight to talk a little bit more extensively about our consulting related services. Dr. Alvarado, can you take it from here?
Thank you, Rick. So because of the vast experiences and expertise of our staff, we can offer Socorro ISD comprehensive services, trainings, and resources through our Center for School Governance. This center assists schools in meeting the mandated training requirements, along with being a supportive partner for continuing education for a broad scope of topics such as Team of 8 training, board operating procedures, goal setting, legislative updates, ISO, cybersecurity, and safety and security. We are at the law firm are committed to customizing trainings to meet the needs of Socorro ISD. We also offer administrator and educator training in areas of FERPA and student privacy rights, sexual harassment, handling school employee grievances, sexual abuse and human trafficking, and other school-related topics. So the Powell Law Group is an innovator and therefore created the Institute of District Leaders to provide training, resources, guidance, mentoring support, and job search coaching for those education professionals who wish to become better superintendents and/or those who want to advance their careers and become district superintendents. We also have a vast network of professionals that we consult with, and we can connect district staff with those resources as needed. So know that the Powell Law Group offers services well beyond the legal realm, and we are eager to share our expertise with Socorro ISD. Rick?
Thank you, Dr. Alvarado. That concludes our formal presentation, and we are available for questions at this stage.
Proceed with 5 minutes of questions. The time is 8:37. Questions? Mr. Barrera?
So what I'm looking for is the amount it would cost for a district our size, roughly about 50,000 students, 6,000, 7,000 employees. We're still growing. And we're growing at a rapid rate, but looking at some of the policies that have to get redone, contracts that have just gone old because laws have changed, we're growing into a bigger district. All that, when you look at the scope of the work that has to be done to catch up to where we need to be, what is the price that you guys are looking at, low end compared to high end?
So I know that this has been a question that your board has asked of the presenters, and I know that there has been some discussion that maybe you might have present services around $1 billion, and there was some discussion about a range between $700,000 and $300,000 a year. It is very difficult to answer a question kind of in a vacuum without knowing more about what the issues are that are facing the district. But I can tell you that it sounds to me like that is a bit high, and I would expect that it shouldn't be. It's really hard to say shouldn't be. I would think that 300,000 is more kind of a middle, getting towards the top end. But I don't know without taking a look at your history and talking specifically about what is needed for your district to be able to answer that question. But I will commit this to you. We will make it to where it is a price that you can hold your head up to your constituents, to your taxpayers, to your staff members, parents and students, and say we're being good stewards with the funds. And we are willing to work on a tailored contract for your district that meets the needs and also is very, very reasonable in cost.
What about travel? What is that?
Again, we typically charge travel related expenses to our districts, but for districts who are looking for a specifically negotiated contract, and we're providing regular weekly services to those clients, we're going to we're going to make a special deal with regard to any travel related to expenses. And like I said, if we need to establish a presence on a regular basis in the school district in order to meet the needs, that will be built into the contract cost that is provided to the district.
Thank you.
Questions?
Dr. Alvarado, Mr. Lambert, Ms. Valle, thank you all very much. Appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you very much, and we wish you the best of luck in terms of you making your selection.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. This is Scott Holtz.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Ground rules real quick. We have 15 minutes for your presentation. You don't have to take all 15 minutes, but if we do hit the 15 minutes, I'm sorry, I will interrupt you. Then we have 5 minutes for Q&A.
Yes, sir.
Okay. With that, the floor is yours.
Thank you. We had a PowerPoint.
It's coming up.
Okay, very good. Oh, thank you.
So we're starting at 8:43.
Good evening, Mr. Nájera, Dr. Carmen, board members, and esteemed guests. My name is Rosemary Marin, and I'm a shareholder at the Scott Holtz Law Firm. With me is my partner, Francisco Ortega, my partner, Blake Downey, one of our senior associates, Stephen Venzer. And on behalf of Scott Holtz, I want to thank you very much for allowing us the opportunity to bid and also to be here tonight to talk to you a bit about our firm and to answer any of your questions. Tonight, I will be combining our qualification statement with a discussion about our personnel because they're very closely related. And I will also discuss our past and present school law clients. So 1889, that is the year that our firm was founded by William H. Burgess, the namesake of Burgess High School. We're not in the cowboy days anymore, and we don't rest on our laurels, but it's worth noting that not many other law firms in the country have existed for more than a century. That's 134 years. That's a long time. That's 13 decades and some. And for 134 years, we've upheld the values that Mr. Burgess founded this firm on many years ago. When I joined the firm more than 20 years ago now, I decided to come here because I thought if a firm's been around that long, it's doing something right. The fact is that the values that we hold still true that Mr. Burgess opened this firm with were we provide excellent legal services to all our clients, no matter the size, and we do it with integrity at the highest levels of legal and ethical standards. We are local. We are committed to this community. We are a full-service local firm. It's the oldest local firm that was founded in El Paso. We've expanded to Las Cruces and San Antonio to serve the Borderplex, but our main office is still here. We have our firm-wide culture that emphasizes community service. That's existed since the inception of the firm when Mr. Burgess founded it. For many years, our firm has been committed to serving our local public entities, including K-12 school districts and higher education institutions. We know that there are state and national firms that can serve school districts, but we believe that you are better served with a strong, qualified local firm that understands El Paso and its unique community. We also know that unlike other local firms that may be interviewing with you, our bench is very deep. We have a deep bench in every area of the law that we practice. we are not affected by the loss of one lawyer or two lawyers. We are not devastated because we have continuity of personnel and experience in our firm, which is one of the reasons that we've continued to be around for 135 years. Because of that, we have responsiveness, and responsiveness ultimately leads to save time and save money for the district. When you have a large firm that does this work, sometimes the work is duplicated. We do not do that. Our system is such that it originates with an associate typically, it's supervised by a shareholder, and the work is done correctly, timely, and effectively every time. Our current legal team is 25 attorneys, and that is a very deep bench with 500 years of combined legal experience among our staff. We have multidisciplinary practice. We are a full-service firm, and in the packet at page 38, you'll see the wide array of practice areas that we have in our firm. Our packet explains the high level of experience and expertise that exists in our firm. We have a strong legal team, and we work collaboratively to be able to serve our clients in many legal endeavors in a very efficient way. We have the experience and expertise to meet all of the district's needs, other than special ed, which is its own area, and we do not do that work. We are responsive advocates. On page 39 of your packet, we explain that one of our core values is providing prompt and responsive service to our clients. We're regularly faced with multifaceted, complex legal issues that need prompt answers. It's our job to solve even the most complicated legal issues very quickly. Our size gives us the ability to ensure that issues are timely assigned and completed for our clients. But we're also not so big that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. We provide our clients with our cell numbers so that they can call in the event any matter requires urgent attention. And that, of course, happens a lot. We are real trial lawyers. We have more than 250 years of combined litigation experience in our trial section. There is a difference between litigators and trial lawyers. Real trial lawyers are not afraid of the courtroom. They're recognized by the judiciary and their advocates. They're adversaries for zealous advocacy for their clients. Ultimately, nobody's going to guarantee a win in a trial, but the bottom line is that real trial lawyers win more than they lose. We have a proven trial record of victories for many decades. And our clients, our current trial team's experiences and real successes in the courtroom are listed at page 39 and page 40 and 41 of our packet. In our representation of many large public entities, including K through 12 school districts, we've learned that sometimes you have to try cases in order to send a message. Sometimes when you've paid large verdicts or large settlements, there's always a risk in going to trial, and it has to be on the right case, and they have to be tried correctly. But we have firsthand experience in knowing what a positive impact a trial victory can have on an organization. We also know that proactive management wins cases. On page 41 of our packet, we discuss our labor and employment section and the many types of school-related cases that we've handled. We have a list of cases that we've handled there. What I can tell you is, even though it's a difficult jurisdiction for trials, we've been humbled and amazed by our local jury's ability to look at well-presented facts on behalf of school districts and rule in our clients' favor. So when we say proactive management wins cases, what do we mean by that? We mean that before critical decisions are made, our clients know that they can call us. It may be a 5-minute discussion, it may be longer than that. But the value that we bring is knowing through experience what that road looks like down the road. We can see where those legal landmines are, and we can help our clients avoid those legal landmines. Does that mean you won't get sued? No. But it does mean that if you do get sued, by the time those decisions are made, they are in accordance with law and policy, and they're well documented, and they're defensible. There's definite ways, right and wrong ways to do things, including investigations and decision-making when it comes to employees, and we know what those are. So let's talk about low-cost training. I know that this is something that we do on a constant basis, not only on-the-job training with your administration so that over time they learn what proactive decision-making is, but we provide regular training to our public entity clients, including our school law clients, on investigations, on Title IX, on all kinds of other issues that affect the workplace. We regularly provide them with these training services so that they can learn the different aspects of why they're making the decisions that they're making and how they should make them in a way that best protects the district. The law's constantly changing, and decision makers must be aware of those changes in order to avoid legal landmines. We've conducted the training not only for school districts, but for higher education institutions, PAR 19, the Texas Association of School Personnel Administrators, and TASB, to name a few. We also do it cost effectively because we are going to charge you by the hour, whether you have one person attend the training or 6,000. It doesn't matter to us how many you have. We're going to charge you the same amount of money per hour. We also have experienced transactional lawyers. Like our litigation section, our transactional section also has a deep bench with more than 250 years of combined legal experience. Starting on page 43 of our packet, we've described our firm's vast transactional experience, including in the areas required by SISD. We have handled every possible kind of school district contract and procurement training and procurement fights and litigation and all of that. All aspects of property and real estate and purchasing of land, financial transactions, construction law. And then there's all these other combined areas where litigation and transactional come together, such as in special counsel experience, the PIA, Open Meetings Act, general school law, special opinions, civil rights and con law, all of those kinds of things we do. We stay ahead of the curve, and we're committed to the future. And what does that mean for us is that we're committed to bringing back the best and the brightest of our local talent. We recruit local lawyers from El Paso who want to come back and serve this community. And we train the lawyers that come behind us to ensure the firm's long-term presence in our community for our clients for many decades to come. And I really believe that has been the key in our longevity. When we need more lawyers, we have the resources to hire more lawyers. We stay ahead of the law for our clients, monitoring the legislative process and advising our clients of upcoming changes in the law and how they can impact them. I know that Ms. Nájera has been on the Legislative Advisory Council for TASB for quite a few years. TASB is fantastic and they do track the law, but there's a gap. So we are in touch with TASB all the time, but their seminar on the newest legislative changes isn't coming till August. We're already advising our clients on the changes that just passed that need to be talked about and readied for now and not in August. These last 2 weeks have been eventful with 75 bills that have been sent to the governor for signing that are related to K through 12 education. We have staff lawyers that are on all the time looking for that and tracking that legislative action. You need proactive counsel who's going to be doing that to help you prepare for the future. And when, for example, you go to TASB and you ask questions, their legal services is very good, but they give you generalized answers, and you need general counsel, which is usually what they tell you is talk to your general counsel. You need general counsel that know what they're doing and that have looked into these things. So let me briefly talk about our school law clients. We're very proud of our record of serving local public and private school entities. We've only submitted 3 references because that's what you've asked for. We have many more if you need them. We served YISD honorably on 2 occasions over a span of 11 years. We were their outside general counsel. At the time, they had 6,000 employees and many campuses. And unlike other firms that may be interviewing tonight, we never lost a case for YISD. We handled many hundreds of grievances, complaints, EEOC charges, lawsuits, and we never lost one. We provided our services promptly, correctly, and ethically. With EPCC, we're their current outside general counsel. We've been that for about 4 years, following a firm that had been there for about 40 years. It is a higher education institution, but it's one that works very closely with the ISDs on issues like the early college, high schools, and the PTech. And we've been involved in those contracts and the MOUs and so forth between the districts. They also have many legal issues at the higher ed level that are very similar to what the K through 12 experience. Again, we've never lost a case for EPCC. and we continue to provide our services at their discretion, and we provide them promptly, correctly, and ethically. EPISD hired us after they hired an inside general counsel, so our role there has been more limited. We've been labor and employment counsel for EPISD for about 10 years. And in a district with 8,000 employees, that's the largest employer in the city, it's a lot of work. So we've handled grievances, investigations, administrative claims, non-renewals, terminations, all of that for them as well, like we've done with the others, and we've not ever lost a matter that we've handled for EPISD. And so we listed other smaller schools, parochial schools, private schools that we've also represented. And even though they're small entities, they still sometimes have big problems, and they still sometimes need that level of expertise. So we're very proud to represent, as we said, every school entity that we have and have had for the many years that we've done it. We thank you for the opportunity to be here again, and we thank you for your time tonight, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We'll continue now with questions. The time is 8:57, so 5 minutes for questions.
Being that we're still growing, again, roughly about 50,000 students, 6,000 employees. Through the time, we've obviously seen that our policies are a little bit outdated, contracts are outdated because we're just growing really fast. So we're having to catch up on that. Obviously, we're under a TA investigation, so when you look at that scope of work that has to be done and caught up to what the standard is now, where's your low-end cost for the year and where's your high-end? I mean, I'm not asking specific, but just a general, like I said, low-end, high-end.
With school districts?
Yes.
I mean, it depends on where you come in, right? What I can tell you is that it can be into the hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on what the school district calls us for. On issues of catching up, I will tell you without disparaging anybody that when we took over EPCC that had been with the same lawyers for 40 years, they had had many of the policies for 20 plus years, many of the same contracts for many years. And ultimately, our team was able to and has been able to over time update everything that needed to be done. That's where the deep bench comes in, right? And so when you have people that have done this many times, the work is very efficient. You have Stephen Benzer, who's behind me, who is a tremendous right hand to me, who is very familiar with policies and with legislative actions and with contracts, among many other things, but he drafts them at a lower rate, and then I review them and approve them and move them on. And that's our system. It's how we work as a team. I have a paralegal that handles the minor tasks. We have a secretary, and then we have associate attorneys who do the majority of the work at a lower level.
So a district our size, what is the cost you, more or less?
I'm not sure that I'm comfortable answering that question in a public setting because I haven't been given that authority by my clients. And they're different sizes and so forth. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with answering that question directly. Respectfully, I'm sorry.
What are your hourly costs?
So we are typically, for example, my normal hourly rate would be $350 an hour. What we charge our public entity clients is substantially less than that. So $225 an hour for shareholders and $200 an hour for associates. So about $100 and some off per hour that we charge our public entity clients.
And do you distinguish when you're on the clock and off the clock?
Yes, absolutely. So we only do the work that you tell us to do. We don't look around and see what else needs to be done, right? We will partner with your administration and they will tell us what they need us to do. We will bring things to their attention like legislative actions and so forth that may require some action, but otherwise we take our time in writing it down by the 1/10 of an hour. And so every 6 minutes we bill to the nearest 10th of an hour.
Do you say that you don't have any experience in special ed law?
We don't do that work. What we learned very early on in doing the education work is that it's super specialized. And again, I don't think the district is best served by a generalist handling such a specialized area of law. we typically have advised our district clients to use outside counsel. I don't know of anybody locally that does it as a specialized area. Usually it's Austin Counsel for more money, but you're better served with that level of expertise.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Ms. Marin, thank you very much. Appreciate
you
your
all very
time.
much for your time.
Thank you for your presentation.
Yes. Good evening, everybody.
Final presentation is Thompson and Horton, and it is also virtual. I believe they're ready. Can you all hear me okay? Great. How about you all to make sure we can hear you?
Can you hear us? Yes, we
Perfect.
can hear you.
Sounds great. All right. Thank you all very much for being here tonight and for presenting to us. Ground rules, you'll have 15 minutes for your presentation. You don't need to take the entire 15 minutes, but should you run into the 15-minute deadline, I will stop you. And then we'll continue with 5 minutes of Q&A. Okay? With that, the floor is yours. Time is 9:02.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the opportunity to present to you tonight and to offer a proposal for our services on behalf of Thompson and Horton. I'm Philip Frazinet. I'm the managing partner of the firm. I'm in our Houston office, and along with me tonight, Stephanie Ham and Chris Gilbert, two partners in the Houston office. And they'll tell you a little bit about themselves. I will be brief here and tell you just a little bit about our firm. We are a full-service school law firm. We focus primarily on representing schools, K-12, as well as other educational entities like community colleges throughout Texas. Our offices are in Houston, Dallas, and in Austin. And again, our primary client base are school districts, and we do just about every type of work for school districts, from personnel to litigation, special education, the business side, school construction, real estate. Just about everything other than we don't collect taxes. We're not a tax collection firm, and we are not bond lawyers. But just about every other area we touch upon in our firm. Chris, you had, or Stephanie, if you could put up the next slide, show you just our client base. This is just in the past 5 years, I believe, school districts that we've represented around the state of Texas. Most of these school districts, or many of these school districts, we have represented for many, many years. A little bit of history. Our firm goes back to 2009 when we started Thompson and Horton. Is a group of us originally that were in the Bracewell law firm, which had a school and public law practice. And both Chris and I were part of that firm, and had spent about I spent about 15 years there. So that practice went back years and years representing school districts. So in 2009, we started our own firm so that we could focus on the representation of school districts. This is a listing of our attorneys. We have 30, I think there are 38 attorneys on this list between our offices, partners, counsel, and associates. We started with 12 lawyers back in 2009, so we've grown quite a bit throughout the state. Tell you a little bit about each one of us. Again, I'm the managing partner of the firm. I've focused on representing school districts primarily on the financial and business side of things. Also have focused on advising governing boards in the Houston area and other areas as well. One of my longtime clients is Corpus Christi ISD. I've been going to Corpus Christi now for, it's getting close to 20 years that I've represented that school district as their board counsel. And so I have experience advising school boards, as do Chris and Stephanie, and most of the lawyers in our firm, the partners in our firm. We have at least as much, if not more, experience than any firm in representing and advising school boards specifically. But again, we do just every other type of work in representing the district as a whole. So that's a little bit about my background. By the way, I was born in Socorro, but unfortunately, the Socorro that's about 2.5 hours north of you, my father was a school superintendent in New Mexico, where I grew up, up in Socorro. So that's a little bit about me. I will pass it on to Stephanie, who I think you're familiar with and who has done some work for you. We have other lawyers, of course, who have done work with this district over the years, but Stephanie, the most recent. I'll turn it over to her to talk a little bit about her practice and the things she focuses on.
Hi, thank you, Philip, and good evening, everyone. Thank you again for the opportunity to make this presentation to you about all of the services we provide at Thompson and Horton. As Philip mentioned, I am a partner in the Houston office. I have been representing school districts and other governmental entities for about the last 5.5 years. I've been practicing in general for about 14, 15 years. My primary focus has been on all things labor and employment and all things litigation related. I do handle other student issues, student civil rights cases, both grievances, disciplinary hearings, but also litigation that ends up in state and federal court. On the employee side, I handle all sorts of different types of cases that end up in lawsuits, but primarily I work with human resources departments and other administrators on a day-to-day basis, helping them work through various personnel matters, whether that be grievances, leave and accommodations issues, all of the things that we try to help our clients do to avoid ending up at the courthouse. That's a big part of my practice. I also do a lot of work with school district and college police departments. There are a lot of issues that are specific to school-based police law enforcement agencies that come up that I've had a lot of experience with, including various administrative hearings before the State Office of Administrative Hearings. So that is primarily what I do. As Philip said, we are a full service firm. So I have clients that I work with on a daily basis who they pick up the phone, any sort of question you can imagine. They pick up the phone and we talk through it. And the great part about working with folks like Philip and Chris and others is that we all have pretty wide variety in terms of our background and experience. And so there's almost nothing that one of us hasn't seen before. So it's a very collaborative approach to our practice. And we really work together to do our best to help meet the needs of our clients. So with that, I will pass things on to Chris Gilbert to say a few words about his practice.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Gilbert. I am in my 30th year of practice, and it has been entirely devoted to representing school districts and other institutions of education in pretty much all aspects of school law. I am predominantly a litigator. I have represented school districts in over 200 cases, both state and federal court, and at all levels of the court. And I also am board counsel for a number of school districts, including LaPorte ISD. I was actually at their board meeting tonight talking about the bond they just passed. I also specialize in the First Amendment, in which I wrote a book, and I also work with different groups to do amicus briefs, different courts, different levels, but we've done 3 in the U.S. Supreme Court over the last, 2 over the last couple years, and then 1 was a little bit before that. So like Stephanie, I do a lot of general work for school districts. I field calls all day long from different different school districts, different kinds of issues. But as y'all know, there's never a dull day in representing school districts. So it's always interesting what we get on any given day. And with that, I'll turn it back to Philip.
So a couple of other members that we've listed, thinking our proposal is Selena Vinson. Selena is a longtime attorney with the Harris County here in Houston. She has extensive experience as a litigator on a variety of matters, and she's joined us in focusing on litigation, but she's also already advising districts and their boards and administration. And then see, do we have, and Ashley White, many of you probably have met Ashley and know Ashley. She did a lot of the work for you on your redistricting project this last year. She's a great lawyer and focuses in areas such as redistricting and other policy areas. So that's primarily the team that we would present to you. But of course, as Stephanie said, in our firm, we are not territorial. We try to get the best lawyers for any particular type of matter. We really do help each other out. We have a wealth of knowledge that's built up over the decades, and we try to make that a value to our clients. Where many questions, somebody's going to know the answer, and we don't have to go spend a lot of time researching it or trying to find the answer. We have just a great depth of knowledge and experience, and there's value in that for our clients. So here are our offices in throughout the state. And what's next, Chris? We have some time for questions. I don't know if we're close to our time, but we'll go ahead and we'd love to address any specific questions you have about our firm or how we might be of service to Socorro ISD.
President, thank you very much. Time is 9:13. We'll continue with 5 minutes of questions. Questions? Barrera?
So with our scope or the size of our district, roughly about 50,000 students, 6,000 employees or so, we're growing. Some of the issues that I guess that we've had is contracts, policies are a bit outdated. So we're trying to play catch up, deal with that. Also, TA investigation. So with that being said, what is a cost that you guys, low end, high end, would charge a district for that kind of scope of work? What would be the low end and high end kind of pricing that we'd be looking at?
Are you talking about the policy update or just more generally?
I'm talking about policy updates. I'm talking about, dealing with the TA investigation, contracts that are outdated. You probably have to draw up a new one, like a federal procurement process wasn't even in place. We had to do that recently. So things like that.
Yeah, so I guess without spending time knowing the exact scope of what you guys need done there. First of all, let me say this: the size of your district and a growing district, that's sort of our bread and butter type district in Houston, Dallas, and Austin. We represent big districts, big urban districts like Houston ISD and Dallas ISD. We represent really small districts. Before this, we were talking about a K-8 district that we represent, that Stephanie's working for. But by and large, the suburban districts of 40, 50, 60,000 students, that we have plenty of those in Houston and in Dallas and in Austin. That's really kind of the bulk of our clients. So we're familiar with that size of district and the issues that you would have there. So now to the specifics of a cost, Stephanie might be able to, or Chris, give kind of a range of, when we say policy updates, again, it depends on how extensive that would need to be, but I don't know if you have the TASB policies. I suspect that's what you use. And so if you're talking about sort of revamping some of the local policies and things, Chris, what would, or Stephanie, you have a thought on ballpark on
I'll be honest, we bill by the hour. We try to be as efficient as possible. Without knowing more specifically what you're talking about, it's difficult to say what would be, because I mean, it's hard to know how long that project would take. And we've provided you our hourly rates, and we would bill in accordance with those. I think one of the things we try to do with all of our clients is be as efficient as possible. And because all of us have been there and done that, because we've worked with so many different school districts, I think we can get these tasks done quicker than a lot of other law firms who have to reinvent the wheel.
So you can't, ideally for the size of district, you can't even give a ballpark figure is what you're saying.
Well, it's just hard to tell what when you say revamp your policies. We haven't even seen what your what needs to be done, and but so it'd be sort of a guess, I guess, at this point. I mean, I guess I would be, if we were talking about really kind of looking at the local policies, and making them consistent with what we've seen in other places. I mean, it might be 10,000, 15,000 to do that if we're talking about a lot of time and meeting with the board and giving options and just really doing a deep dive into that. It could be $40,000 or $50,000. That's kind of that's what feels like to me a policy, a revamp
Mr.
might
President.
feel like. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So can you give us a range based on your existing client base for a district our size? What is that range? I mean, and we know we don't know what that includes, and you don't know what we need, but at least it gives us a range, because that is one of our primary concerns right now. Cost.
Yeah, I can't tell you the last client of ours that we've just done a policy revamp. So that's why, if we had one that I'd just done, or
no, and it's not just policy, Mr. President. I'm talking about all services, general counsel services for a district our size, based on your clients.
That's different than I understood the question to be. So with that in mind, again, if we're handling everything and all administrative matters and board work, I mean, many districts of your size will be spending $300,000 to $500,000. I would say would be fairly normal. There might be some that have more than that if they have a lot of employee grievances and terminations and complaints and a lot of hearings. And I'm not talking about lawsuits; those are generally covered by insurance. So, but if you have a lot of, if you get sued a lot and you have to meet a lot of deductibles, it could be higher. So, I've seen districts that spend, of your size, that spend $700,000-800,000 in a year on legal fees. We try to reduce those by training our clients to avoid a lot of the litigation
Mr.
costs.
President.
Yes, sir.
Could you give us your hourly, time's up, but I didn't see your hourly rate. Can we get your hourly rates real quick?
Our hourly rates range from $225 to $350. Partners are going to be anywhere between $330 and $350.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Oh.
Travel.
Oh, travel. Do y'all bill us for travel?
We do, unless we reach an agreement otherwise. Now, travel, do you mean the hard expenses or the time?
Out of pocket and time.
Out of pocket, we generally do. And then time, I go to Corpus Christi, I do not.
Okay.
Unless I'm doing work while I'm traveling.
Okay.
But not just for hard time or airplane time.
Okay. Ms. Ham, Mr. Gilbert, Mr. President, thank y'all very much for your time. Appreciate your presentation. Y'all have a good night.
You bet.
Thank you. Have a good
Bye-bye.
evening.
Okay, that was the last presenter. As I explained, the intent of today was to listen to the presentations, to be able to ask some questions, take the information, be able to absorb it, consider all the answers. Of course, we'll follow our standard procurement process as well, where administration evaluates, provides a recommendation. But the item will be posted to our next regular board meeting agenda, which is scheduled for 6/21, June 21st.
I'm sorry, Mr. Nahara, you said administration is gonna.
They'll
is
score
gonna,
the same thing, just like they always do.
Because the board hires the attorneys.
Right.
And why are we having administration evaluate them?
Because they do all the time. You would prefer that we didn't?
Well, I think if we're gonna hire the attorneys, I think it's best if we do the evaluation. That's what this process was for, but I think it's up to the board's decision, but I think since we're doing the evaluation, so we evaluate the attorneys, I think it's best if we make that decision.
Okay. So we'll just come to the next board meeting with our intent to propose a firm and come to a decision.
Would it help, Mr. President, if we provide the rubric that we have administratively? We have it prepared in purchasing, share that with the board members?
I think it would be very helpful.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, I do get your point, because while the board does hire the attorney, and that ultimately that responsibility rests with the board according to policy. But on a daily basis, our administration works with these attorneys. And so to get their input, I think would be helpful in making our decision. So if we could possibly get input from administration, maybe in our Friday packet before the regular board meeting, so we have that perspective to consider.
I don't think the administration, everybody has access to what we just went through, so this is a board decision. Just leave it with the board. We did that the last time.
Okay. So then let's just come to we'll get the rubric. Ms. Claudia, can you make sure that we have all the presentations, please? Because, oh, that's right, Ms. Bettis, you do have them. Can you make sure that we have all of them? Because some of them did include them in the attachments that we got, but some did not. So, okay, thank you. Then with that, again, 6/21 agenda, we'll bring it back, and our intent at that point will be to make a decision in the selection. All right? With there being no further business before the board, the time is 9:23. Again, date is 6/5. We're adjourned.